And boom, we're live. That's for you, Jack. Nick Durkin, how are you, my friend?
I am doing well. It looks like you're doing well
Long
as well.
time no see. Thank you, man. I appreciate it,
This
dude.
is really kick ass. It really is.
Thank you, man.
I like it.
I appreciate it. It's been a long time, man. Fucking Nick and I go way back. For the people who don't know who we are, tell them who you are and what you do, man.
I am your cousin. Met you, Joe and Denise. You came over and,
right.
and you were full of piss and vinegar, man. You were just all about music, and all you wanted to do was fucking talk about music, which I thought was fucking cool. And back in those days, I'd always ask, I want to talk about music. You had your little recorder, and we'd sit there and fuck around.
Dude, I still...
Is that the one you just showed me?
No. I think it's back here. I think it's sitting up. Hold on.
Super excited about new beats because I play drums and like, check out this beat I came up with. Check out this riff that I came up with. And it was cool. I mean, it was fucking cool to talk to some whatnot, and then rest is history, man. I fell in love with her the first night I met her, and here we are 20 years later.
Yeah.
Still married.
2 kids.
2 kids.
Fuck,
where does the time go? Fucking year.
Yeah, it's weird to think about that because that literally was 20 years ago. Yeah,
Crazy.
We started my first real band together.
Yeah.
Now I had started a couple fake bands before that. When I say fake bands, meaning like I was by myself in my bedroom, wrote a bunch of songs, created a band name, drew a logo, and I was in a band. That's not real. That's not what we're talking about.
But that's what I loved about you, man. You had such dreams and aspirations. It was fucking cool, because when I was your age, because I'm older than you,
Something like that.
it was cool to see somebody that was so into something, passionate about something, that it was fun to be around.
That's awesome.
And then,
thank you.
And then it wore off on me, and I'm like, fuck, you know what? This guy's a good.
Well, and I remember you had a project with this other dude, and I don't want to name drop him because I'm not trying to put him out on blast, but he wasn't that good.
No,
and I was so confident. Dude, I thought my music was so good. And I mean, if you compare it to how like other people that are that age, that earlier in their career, I guess it was pretty good.
No,
it was better than Justin. Fuck!
Shit.
Okay, we won't say his last name.
I'm going to be honest with you, man. When I was playing with those guys, and this is the truth. I mean, I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. Your music was so much better than theirs.
It was catchy.
Together.
That's
catchy.
That's all I've ever been able to do is write catchy music.
And it was great. So I went through my trials and tribulations with those guys, and then I figured, you know what, that's not, And then I remember the day that you came up to me and said, "Hey." And,
dude, it was cool. I remember this, and still to this day, this is one of the harder things that I find, or have a harder time finding. Jamming with anybody at any level in this industry now, because fucking I've been doing this for 20 years. I've jammed with some like real pros, and there's something about chemistry, and like I talked about this last night with Zach about when you say no, that doesn't sound right, play something more like this, and I know what you mean by that. It just shortens the time that it takes for us to actually like manifest what we're trying to accomplish here, right? With this song, with this art we're creating. But there's another level to that, which is like I don't even need to communicate what I'm hearing for the drums, because back then I didn't play drums. And a lot of my listeners and people that know me, some of them only know me as a drummer. They've never seen me play guitar ever. I still to this day have never played guitar on stage. Like literally.
Never?
Not once have I ever played guitar on stage, which is insane because that's what my instrument is.
Yeah.
So where I'm going with this is like when we were in a band together, I didn't know any music theory. I didn't know any drum theory. I didn't know how to communicate other than like more upbeat, you know? And I kind of like use my body and like, and I try to beatbox and like I could program something. So when we got that drum machine, this really old drum machine, but it worked.
It did. Yeah.
Dude. And I would just simply like put some sort of kick snare groove in like an open hi-hat. And then it would just be on a very basic loop. But I'd be like, you know, dun 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 cat dun 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 dun. But it wasn't even that. It was dun 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 cat dun 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 cat dun dun dun. In my head, it's boom 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 cat boom 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 cat dun 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 boom. Weird thing was is I gave you that fucking drum machine and we'd plug it into my guitar amp, and then or we plugged it in through that little shitty mixer, and then we'd go into my guitar amp. I'd plug in with just the shitty Boss DS1, and we would jam together. And you learned how to play that fucking drum machine like a keyboard, like boom, 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 boom. Dude, it was amazing. And oh my God, and there was sensitivity, and all of a sudden I was like, we were writing songs. And the thing I loved about it is you naturally almost always wrote the drums the way I already heard them in my head. And it was the only time there was ever an issue is when one of us was trying to write something beyond the other one's physical capabilities or musical talents at the time. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, dude, I can't be doing all that double bass shit. And I'm like, come on, be a man. And then you're like, fuck you come try to do it then. And I'd sit down and I'd be like, 30 seconds. And I'd be like, I don't know how you do this. You fucking drummers are fucking insane. Like, and it was years and years and years later that I started hearing that from certain people, not everyone, that I would jam with on drums. They'd be like, dude, the chemistry, like I'll be playing something improv and you catch on and switch the groove and like it just so good, you know? And it's like, I'm not actually a very good drummer, but it's more about honoring and writing to the song and what you're bringing to the table. And it was an interesting ride for me to start off on one side of that relationship as a guitar player and have that with a drummer. And then for years, never find a drummer that was able to do it again, especially when you left because you started having kids. And then I started switching my style of music and pushing myself. So I wanted to do more complex music, difficult to perform. We started off in a nu metal band. Easy, drop D guitars. It was catchy, but it really wasn't very sophisticated. When I started evolving or maturing music, it became really interesting because I couldn't find the right drummer. Finally, I'm like, fuck it. I'll learn how to play drums. I'm like, dude, if I can't, I'll just do it. And
that's the thing about you. That's the thing that I've noticed. Put your mind. Truth. I mean, you've always been that. I want to do this. Fucking care. Yeah. And you did it. Yeah. You know?
It's a little bit of arrogance.
There was a lot of arrogance in the beginning. I'll tell you right now. But you know what? You use that to your advantage because that arrogance, it got the band to certain places.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And
I appreciate
it worked.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun to play with you, the three other guys.
There was a stable of them. That's why I think we're not naming names intentionally because there was too many of them to remember. I mean, even by the time we got on stage, we had a rotation in that band of 10, 15 other people over the years.
But then we got the core 5.
Yeah.
Where we started playing Star Central. We played Wisconsin. We were gonna play that show at First Avenue. Remember that? And they closed First Avenue because license. Remember
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Here, get this a little closer to you. Yeah, pull it this way. However you want. Here, I'm gonna
like that.
Here.
Oh, there we go. Works. You should do the Saturday Night Live thing where
and you almost want to like Zach was joking last night. You almost want to eat the foam. like I said, just keep it about 2 fingers away.
Okay.
And I gotta do this. It sucks because I don't have real broadcast microphones, like real ones. So I have to have these turned up super high.
Yeah.
In order for it to sound good.
Right.
And then the problem is, dude, if I go too high, you hear everything in the background, right?
Yeah.
So they're not high enough that you got to kind of, like the nicer ones, you can be way back here and it still won't get any of the background shit. These are just vocal mics.
Is that close enough?
That's really
That's
close.
good. Okay.
Yeah, no, you're plenty good. No, but what were we just talking about?
The core 5.
Oh yeah, when we finally started playing out Star Central and stuff like that. Fuck, and that was like, we were talking about this last night. I think that was like 2004-ish.
Yes,
2005.
Because it was 2004 because I remember it was before my son was born, and we played a lot of shows when my wife got pregnant with our son. And I remember the day she told me. I came out of practice and she was sitting upside the building.
Yeah.
And she just looked at me and I was like, what? And she's like, I'm pregnant. And at first I was like, what? She's like, I'm pregnant. And then I was super stoked because we were trying for so long. But yeah, I remember that rehearsal space, those fucking stairs.
Oh yeah.
Remember that?
Brutal.
Carrying those drums or amps up the stairs.
Do you remember you guys used to give me shit because I didn't want to help you carry your equipment?
Yeah, we'd be lugging all the shit up there and Jared would just be, got my mic. I'm good.
dude, and you guys had this like communistic, like we all have to suffer together. Dude, I'm just letting you know right now, y'all were wrong. All right? I don't want my singer, seriously, I'm not singing in this band, right? I'm playing guitar.
Right.
Here's the rule. I don't want my singer loading any equipment. I don't need that motherfucker throwing out his back or tripping and hurting an ankle or fucking maybe he turns wrong and fucking gets a black eye. Like, no, he's the face of the band. He's the fucking, he needs to stay pretty. He needs to stay like physically well. No, dude, no. So Jeremy, when we're at shows, Jeremy knows better. He knows I'm not gonna fucking. In fact, I told Jeremy, don't even be here. Dude, show up sometime before we play. Let us do our thing. And I don't even want him sound checking. Seriously, I don't want my singer on stage until we really start. So, like, for sound check, we got to find somebody else that can sound check the singer's microphone.
Right.
Because there's just some sort of weird, I don't know what it is, but there's something very authentically dramatic, not like cheesy dramatic.
Right.
Like, it's authentically dramatic when you never see the singer and the fucking band walks up, you either strum a note and yeah, or you just immediately start a song and then the fucking singer comes running out and you just start singing.
Right.
It's just one of the coolest moves you could ever do, period. And it's better for the singer because the less people see him not being an actual rock star, the better.
Right.
You want to keep that kind of illusion. I don't want him walking around fucking picking his nose. So he decides he needs to take a shit and somebody's in the bathroom next to him while he's dropping the nastiest of dukes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, nah, dude, no. There's an image that needs to be maintained here, you know? And then when you get successful, then even the own band members don't load their own gear or check their own gear.
Right.
And it's for the same reason. But at the beginning, we can't afford roadies. Right? So we'll lift our own gear. We'll check our own gear. Vocalists don't need roadies. He gets that pass. Isn't it ironic that I'm saying this now? Because you'd think I'd be like, no, I suffered it. You have to do it. No, man. Get the fuck out of here, bro. We got this, man. Plus, dude, plus, most singers are fucking idiots. And you don't need them talking in public. They just, dude, they're going to make your band look bad. They're going to say, especially nowadays, fuck, man, in cancel culture.
Oh, God. I don't know how our band would do.
I think we'd be fine. I think we'd be fine. Because it's more, well, probably not.
Do you remember? I'm sure you do. When we won that first round of the Battle of the Bands at Star Central.
The first and the second. And then we got crushed by -3.
Yep.
Dalton, the lead guitar player of that band, is jamming in my project with me.
What happened to that? I thought those guys were on the verge of a record deal.
They were.
What happened?
It's better when Dalton tells a story because it's accurate, but something to the degree of like they started really muddying the waters between business and pleasure.
Right.
And I think somebody started fucking the manager, which was a chick. That just sets off.
That sounds like the American Head Charge tragedy.
I don't know anything about that. I got friends in that band, and everybody's got their own version of different things that went wrong with that band.
Well, 2 members have died over the past 20 years, you know, and they're like the drug use of the band is. I don't know how it is today, but
because you remember Dave Rogers. Remember he was in LTD, and he liked us and took us under their wing a little bit.
Yep, and, I remember that show too.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get Dave on. He's hard to get a hold of. He's not really like on social media and shit. But if anybody knows Dave Rogers,
I'm gonna
let him know I want to get him on my podcast.
I'm gonna be honest with you. That show really introduced me to the rock star life because I saw some shit that night that I was stick to my happy trees. You guys do what you got to do, and it's kind of funny. I remember I walked
There's
in.
large amounts of cocaine being done backstage at Star Central. That's what he's talking about, guys.
There was that couch area. They had those couches, and then they had like everybody's gear here, but there was a bathroom.
Yeah.
And I kind of walked in, and then I looked over. And he's like, "Stop, dude!" I'm like, "Nah, man. You know what? I think I'm gonna go check on my drum set. You take it easy, bud. All right." And it was just a shock to me. I'd never seen it. I mean, I've seen people drinking and smoking weed and whatever, and that was all fine and dandy, but that was the first time
Yeah.
What if I do cocaine, man? I'm dead by the time I'm 25 and I'm 24, So, but they were cool guys. They were awesome on stage. I remember when they played. But that first show, it will always stick in my mind because the story of that was we had tried to get in and Joe said that we weren't established enough.
Yeah, we weren't a name.
We weren't a name yet. And then 2 days before, was it 2 or 3 days? It was like 2 or 3 days before the Battle of the Bands, he called you. And he said, "Hey, I had a band drop out. Do you still want to be in it?" And I remember those next 2 days, we like rehearsed our ass off. Like everything had to be perfect. I remember the yelling and the screaming and the fighting but at the end of the day, everything was okay because we got what we needed.
Yep.
And then we went to the Battle of the Bands, and I don't know about you, but I was nervous as shit because this was our first. No, it wasn't our first show. It was our first big show because there were a lot of people there and there was fine.
Dude, so we talked about me being super arrogant back then?
Yes.
All right. So literally, I got off work that day. I don't remember where I was working, but I got off work. I remember it was already dusk. We had preloaded the gear the night before.
Yeah.
And one person was going to drive it to the venue, and we were all meeting at the venue.
Yeah.
And then we would unload together.
Right.
So it's dusk. I get out of my truck, and I remember I walk into the house, and I'm like, all right, tonight's the night. This is it, right? This is my first big moment, my first chance, my first real big chance.
Yeah.
Because I had heard stories about this Battle of the Bands, like, huge. Like, if you do well in this battle, like, it's going to give you a launching pad for your band, right? So I go in, I do my thing, like take a shower or whatever. I don't even remember what my pre-show prep was. I don't even think I knew what I was supposed to do to mentally or physically get ready for a show yet. It was like I think you said, I think you're right. I think it was our third show. I think our first show was at something called the Enigma Center.
Yep, I remember that.
The second show was at, I think, the Garage.
Yep.
And then our third show was the Battle of the Bands.
Yep, that's right.
And dude,
oh no. Our third show was that barbecue, that outdoor show that we did in the backyard.
Nat's Babbles backyard blowout or backyard bash,
something like that. And we got to play our set, but nobody else got to play because the cops were called. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when we were walking up.
Well,
front,
we weren't first though. There's that because they were playing bands all day, and then we went on at 9, right?
You're right.
And then you're right, dude, because we were also fucking loud.
Yeah, we were,
dude, because we had pro gear. Like again, I talk to the kids about this all the time. Like the young musicians, like there's this debate, like, oh, dude, you don't need the big fucking amp anymore, man. You just need to practice amp. And I'm like, and they go, well, dude, everywhere you show up, they're just gonna mic it up through the PA anyways. Yeah, here's the thing. You don't need a fucking 412 until you need a fucking 412, bro.
Right.
I need all 120 watts of that very, very specifically. And it's for exact scenarios like that. We're playing in a fucking backyard, in a shed. There is a PA.
That was fucking funny.
But there's only 2 or 4 channels for the entire PA.
Yep.
So my vocals got one. I think Mark got a backup vocal.
Mm-hmm.
One microphone went to your kick drums, and one went to your snare. We filled the rest of the sound with just our amps, and we sounded great. Mm-hmm. And we were fucking loud. Yep. So loud that usually bands play till midnight at this thing. And the cops were there at 10 p.m. to shut us down. And they were cool with it. Like, I thought we were going to get in trouble because we ruined their festival. Yeah. Nope. They were like, that was fucking awesome. We've been doing this thing for like 15 years. We've never been shut down by the cops. That's the most metal shit that's ever fucking happened. Oh! Dude, we went back the next year with my other band, or a couple years later with the next band called Solace and Ashes.
Yeah.
And it was actually the next year. And dude, we killed it, right? But the crowd didn't respond the same way they did for us. Mm-hmm. And we're sitting down there, and this guy doesn't recognize me. It's one of the runners, the like organizers,
right?
And it's not Nats, because I'm still buddies with Nats. But he goes, man, you guys should have been here last year. 7 months of nothing. I don't know who those dudes were, but they showed up and tore this fucking place down. Best show I've ever seen at the Backyard Blowout. And then he's like, so tell me, what kind of music do you guys listen to? What's your inspiration? And you know, Solace was like a really heavy band.
Yeah.
Like, it was metal. There was no more new metal bullshit.
Yep.
We were fucking brutal. It was the heaviest we could possibly be without being straight death metal, basically.
Right.
And I'll never fucking forget this, dude. He goes, so what kind of music are you guys into? And I was like, I'm a huge Elton John fan. And then all of a sudden, my guitar player, Nick, raises his hand. He goes, I'm really into Kelly Clarkson. and then Pat Rulin, who is a death metal drummer, goes, my guilty pleasure, I'm not going to lie, Enya. And this dude goes, are you fucking with me right now? And we all went, nope. Super serious, dude. We were all into this, like, appropriately labeled pussy music. Enya, Kelly Clarkson, and Elton John. None of that is tough music, and we were in one of the heaviest bands around. Just fuck it. That little side note, we can get back to the thing, but yeah, you're right. So we did the Backyard Blowout, and then we did that battle. Yeah. And I remember, because now my pre-show routine's pretty simple. It's pretty solid. Like, it's really low key. I've learned how to just manage all that stress and anxiety. You asked me, was I nervous? No, I was nervous our first show.
Yeah,
but that's the only time I was ever nervous, and I was literally only nervous for that first show because I was afraid I was going to forget the lyrics, because I did that in rehearsal, if you remember, notoriously. Yeah. Like, I would notoriously forget entire chunks of my own songs. This is shit that, like, in 7 months of nothing, I wrote almost all that music. Like, we had 2 songs that we wrote as a whole band.
Right.
Most of that was shit I wrote in between the 2 iterations. So you weren't even in the band at the point. That's what I'm getting at. Like, you were in the band. We wrote a bunch of stuff. Somebody at some point in time said it sounded too much like Metallica. So we abandoned it. I think it was Joe, our old guitar player. We abandoned it all. Joe. That version broke up. It wasn't the thing anymore. Then I ended up, when I was in school, I had a recording class, and we had to record music, and I was like, this is perfect. I'll just start writing and recording this music that I've been wanting to do. And I recorded and wrote an entire album. Again, from watching you program drums and play drums, when I got into a real studio with like an MPC at the time, the nicest piece of equipment you could get back then, I knew the concept of programming these drums because I had watched you do it for years. So I wrote that whole fucking album. And then I was like, I needed a band. So I hit up a couple kids from school, and we had this like shitty band, and we were trying to get this thing rolling, but it just wasn't right. We couldn't get the whole fucking group together. And then I called you, And I was like, you want to do this again? And you're like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, dude, everything's already done. Just got to play the fucking. Okay, I'll do it. And you came through the door, and I'll Mark. What's his name?
Nate.
Yep. And then all of a sudden,
Joe.
Josh.
You're Josh.
That
Yep,
was later
sorry.
on. That was later on. But basically, we had finally put this fucking lineup together, and I think we did write 2 songs together as a whole group, and they did make it into the set.
Wasn't I think one of them was Hope Is Falling.
Yep.
And the other one was the one where I do the drum. It was the last song we played, first round, where the drumming started like.
I have no idea. I can't remember any of that shit.
I
I only
can't
remember
remember the
Hope Is
name.
Falling because I thought it was a really good song.
Oh, that song kicked ass, dude. That song was kicked.
Yeah, so basically, I'm so all over the place. So I get home from work, like, all right, tonight's the night. I shower, whatever the fuck I was doing, I don't remember. And then I remember walking out the door and getting ready to get in my truck, like walking from my door to get into my truck to go to the venue. I literally said this out loud. I said, "Watch out, world. Here I come."
Here comes Jared.
And I just remember literally saying, these motherfuckers have no idea what's about to hit them tonight. I was so, I don't even want to say arrogant, but just confident, overconfident,
Yeah.
way overconfident, cocky, arrogant. All of them technically work. And I was just like, I had no doubt in my mind that we were going to succeed. However, Joe had told us, you're not going to win. You didn't have time to promote. Nobody knows who you are. You don't have any fans. You're doing me a favor by showing up last minute, 2 days warning. It was 2 days, by the way.
Yeah.
Because it was Saturday night. He called us Thursday night.
Okay.
And so we immediately scheduled a last minute rehearsal Thursday.
Yeah.
We did our run through again on Friday,
Yeah.
packed up the gear, and then we showed up. Or it happened on Wednesday and the show was on Friday.
Right.
That would make more sense because we rehearsed Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
And we played the third slot, I believe.
I think you might be right.
Kunanun went on before us.
There was a band, Kunanun and Epicurean, we beat in the second round. I don't remember who we beat in the first. Oh, yeah, I do. We beat Aberrants with Jacob Nelson. I do remember.
But I do remember the first round we were later in the set. We weren't in the beginning.
You're right.
Which helped us because people were there. And you say you were nervous and whatnot, man.
Well, I was anxious. I didn't get nervous by that point already.
Or you were anxious. I was nervous. I was nervous as hell. I wasn't nervous at the other 2 gigs because to me that was just another rehearsal.
Right.
Because
there also wasn't that many people at our first 2 shows or 3 shows.
And to me that was like when we had people come to the space and watch us practice.
Yeah.
That's how I looked at those first 2 shows. And then when that came, then I just started getting like really worried because I was like not 100% comfortable with my drumming at that time. I felt like something could have been better.
And we weren't very good at our instruments either at that point. Like our songs were dope, but we weren't fucking professionals.
No, not by a long shot. But we pulled it off because we won that first night. And
that was wild.
Do you
remember the crowd chanted our name?
Oh,
that was the craziest part. My buddy Tony started that.
Did he?
Yeah, later he's like, I did that. And I was like, what? He's like, that crowd chant? That was me. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, straight up, I swear to God. He's like, I got up from my chair and I started going, 7 months. And just slowly fucking people started doing it. And I remember, like, I was in back nervous because then I was nervous for the results because I don't like losing. And we were told we have no chance. And then all of a sudden, I heard this in the background and you come bursting through the door. You're like, dude, you got to come see this. They're chanting our name out there right now. I'm like, what? And literally, I fucking walk, see this. Fuck is happening? Like, God. I think we're gonna get a record deal.
I think we all thought that after that night, man. Seriously.
Oh man, it was a wild ride, dude. It was a wild ride. That band didn't actually have very much success, but the success we did get was very fast and really unprecedented. When we started playing out, we broke up within a year. We were a band for 11 months because I remember it was 7 months of nothing and we lasted 11 months, and I'll never forget the 7-Eleven thing that popped out at me right away.
Do you remember our last show? It was at the Red Sea, and it was us. We were the main show because they let us go on. I remember.
Didn't we play there before that as an opening band, and then they asked us to come back and
they asked
headline?
us to come back, and
which is completely inappropriate for our career age and
but it was
resume.
Weird though. A lot of people showed up, dude. You remember that? It almost filled the whole room.
I do remember that. Yeah.
And I remember there were 2 kids that came to the show that were wearing. Remember those 2? They bought our shirts at our last show, and when they walked in with the shirts on and the room is full, I'm like, wow. But but that lasted only for so long. That's the night that I bought 2.
Well, they were really talking about kicking me out.
Is that what it was? Because I was told that they were going to go do a separate thing.
Yeah, and it was probably Nate and Mark.
Actually, that wasn't our last show. That was my last show.
And Mark, I still have issues with Nate to this day about all that shit because he was so duplicitous and he was really just very cringy to me, especially in retrospect. No ill will with Mark whatsoever.
Mark was good.
But I will tell you this, dude, is like there was a lot of false confidence for the rest of the band because again, like most of what made us was music I fucking wrote, and then they literally kicked me out of the band. And
was this after I left?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because you left under different reasons. Because
Mm-hmm.
like you were struggling financially, you had a kid,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember having that talk with you, and I was like, I was that kid. You can't be that dad. Like you gotta go do that right. And like maybe once you're settled and that kid's 5, 6, 7, 8 years old back in school,
Mm-hmm.
then come back in and do it then. But you're half in, half out right now, and it's hurting you, your family, and the band.
Yeah,
like,
it was a struggle. It really was. Working full time, and the baby was coming, and I'm trying to keep my obligations to this band, which I loved. I loved playing and had fun, and was getting excited. But and I tell everybody this today that I talk about the band. If I could do it all over again, I'd still make the same decision.
You have to, yeah.
Being a parent and experiencing all those things as a parent, those memories will last forever. And
yeah, and you guys all had good
impressions
jobs too, so like there was more than just a family on the line. Like you guys all had really good jobs.
Yeah.
Like there's dudes that have families and are able to continue to do this because they don't have a job that like another one of these shit fucking jobs.
Yeah.
As long as I'm making enough money doing the music thing on the side, some guys will jump into a cover band, make $1,500 a week doing that. Like I'm making plenty of money on the cover thing now. Really focus on the other deal I want, whatever. And but yeah, basically they thought they could just replace me, and they took the new music we had been working on, they rewrote it.
Fucked it up.
Yeah,
they fucked it up. I remember when they released that their own CD. Because Nate or Mark told me about it. I was listening to it. I'm like, oh, pour this shit up, and it's not what you had envisioned in the beginning,
right?
And what we had wound up creating as a whole. And that was really disappointing,
dude. And it's, I mean, I'm cool with it now because like it pissed me off, and it motivated me. Like, oh, these motherfuckers. Okay, like you're gonna kick me out of my own fucking band. You're gonna steal our fucking music, rewrite it, not make it better by any means. Like they didn't even rewrite it. They literally just changed the drum parts that you and I wrote because we were writing drums together at that point. Yeah, Nate on vocals was not better, right? I'm not saying I was better than him, but it wasn't an upgrade. Like it was a lateral move. And again, that version didn't last 6 months or a year. They played a few shows. They sounded good, but we sounded good. You know what I mean? Like basically the same band with a different singer. And it was bizarre. And then they broke up. And it was just so disappointing. It was like, if you guys were going to do all that, And they went through so much effort. And I later found out, like, I still have some cringy feelings with Nate about the whole thing, but really it was Josh. Josh, I don't know why, still to this day, and I have talked to him about this, and I'm never going to say anything on this podcast that I didn't say to somebody's fucking face. He took over the band, literally. Like, he started thinking like he was the band, and like he literally wanted to run the band. And like, so he was like taking responsibilities from me, you know? And it was like, dude, I get it. This is our band, but it's like also my band. Like, I started this. Like, you don't get to come into this and like, he wanted to create all this crazy shit. And he like wanted to make some frames and shit with like metal and all this stuff on it. And I'm like, dude, you do realize like we live in Minnesota, and I don't want to be fucking carrying around a bunch of frozen metal in and out of clubs because I have to handle. And he's like, why do you fucking care? And I was like, dude, because I have to handle all the merch. Remember how that eventually happened?
Yeah.
Like, because I got so sick of the equipment thing, they were like, fine, but then you're in charge of merch. So all the fucking the bins, the t-shirts, the thing where we hung it all up at, all of that, I had to do that. And I was like, you're just creating more shit for me to carry. At least I should have an opinion, because I don't want to be fucking freezing my ass off. And he was like, wear gloves. And I was like, I don't want to have to fucking go through this. I'm not a goddamn roadie, dude. Like, why can't we just use PVC? Like, why are you being this difficult about this, Josh? And like, he brought that specific incident up later. And it was like, dude, you're so difficult. Like, you think you know everything, like blah, 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 blah. And it was like, motherfucker, none of this would be here without me. Like, I started this, dude. Yeah, I get it. I'm a pain in the fucking ass. I get it. I'm not the best leader. I get it. I was what, 18, 19 years old? All of you guys were older than me. So some of you guys were over 30 years old, right? And there's just a lot of people, and probably I would have been the same thing. Very, very difficult time taking the lead of a fucking person who's literally in depending on who you're talking about in that band. I was 15. You know how fucking hard that is for a grown-ass man to listen to an 18-year-old kid tell them they're wrong with no experience? But I knew I was right, because I tell this same thing to the kids, the younger bands that I like kind of mentor a little bit. I am not a creative genius. I did not discover this shit on my own. I didn't make this shit up. This is stuff that was taught to me by people who have already been successful in this industry. And I'm simply applying it because it's still true. And that's why I'm passing this knowledge on. Like, how we go on stage. Like, I remember like being in your guys' ass about not moving enough and being boring. Like, didn't become an issue down the road.
There's only so much
but you did
know
it.
what I mean?
But you did
No,
it.
but I get it.
And people knew you had fun playing drums, and they could tell, and they felt it. It was infectious, and our whole band did that, and it was real. It was authentic.
While you're on that subject, I do say that, you know, everybody had their talents. The talent. And again, no bullshit. You know, this is honest. I always thought that you were a great frontman, because you had so much energy. And what sticks out the most, was the last round of the Battle of the Bands. Place was packed, and there were some girls up front or whatever, and they were drunk and they were having a good time, and you were just so engaged. Where I was behind the drum set and I was just watching you and I laughed because you just didn't give a fuck. You were just like, I'm here to have fun. I'm here to rock and roll. You're here to watch me rock and roll. So I'm going to entertain you. You're going to get your money's worth. And they got their money worth, dude. And I'll never forget that. And I was just looking at you, and I was just like, dude, he's got these people just going crazy, this whole front row, because I can't see past the front row because the lights are in my face. So that's all I see. Yeah. And everybody's all just like getting into it, and like the girl started like rubbing her hands all over you and shit, lift up your shirt, and you were just like, hey baby, you know, it was so funny. I couldn't help it, dude. I was laughing my ass off. Like, that's so awesome, you know. And we had fun that show. That show was a lot of fun. There was a lot of people there. And I mean, there were other shows where you were just like, boom, you were just in it. Yeah. And it was fun to watch you. And, you know, you'd come over and like hit my cymbals on parts of the song that I wasn't, you know, just kind of going with the beat. Sometimes it was cool. Sometimes it was like, dude, fucking stop. I'm nervous. All right, you're going to throw me off. Knock it off. So, it was
that never stopped, by the way. I did
No,
that all the way
no.
through my career, and most drummers hate it. Stop fucking hitting my drum with your fists.
No, sometimes it was fucking cool, but I won't. I remember a time when we were playing that backyard bash. Dude, we were in the middle of Burn It Down. That's what it was. Burn It Down, because it was the part where I do the double foot and I hit my my China cymbal, and you're sitting there fucking hitting my my crashes on both sides like this. And for a minute there, I was like, "You fucker, knock it off! Not the time to do it,
Dude, I started getting so bored on stage. I'd fucking spit water at the drummer. I'd like take a drink of water and just go spit it directly at him.
I'm fine with that. Just don't throw off my fucking
But
beat.
think about that now, like post-COVID.
Oh,
like,
God.
oh my God, dude, there's so many things I can't do.
I know, right?
But you're right. No, I just went for it. That was always my thing, is like, and I told this to every person I'm in a band with. I don't give a fuck if there's no one in this audience except the other bands and their girlfriends.
That happened.
I don't care if there's 12 people, 120, or 12,000. You fucking put everything you have into this.
Fuck yeah.
You have to. And how you get there, if you're struggling, is pretend you're 12 years old again. You're in your bedroom and you're jumping around. You're fucking on the counter. You're on the couch, banging, and you open your eyes. And even though you're seeing your living room, you're also seeing 12,000.
Yeah.
We would trick ourselves as little kids. And I'm like, this is how you have to do it on stage, because you cannot be the band who only plays well when there's a big crowd, because then you'll never earn a big crowd. Right. And who are you to say, well, the crowd sucked, so, you do this in front of a bigger crowd, we'll really show you how we can throw down. Like, what the fuck did you just say, dude? Fuck you. Go home. Don't ever come back up here again until you understand and appreciate how big of an honor and a privilege it is to be on stage.
Oh, yeah.
100%. 100%. And so I would go out there, and it didn't matter how many. One of my favorite one of the things that made me the most proud, front man. We would go out there, we'd start playing, and one of two things would happen. Either people would naturally be like, oh, we're going to go check these out. Because we were always opening. We were so young in our music career, always the opening band. So your job as an opener is, if you're lucky, bring 50 people and entertain or warm up the other crowd that shows up during your show.
Right.
So the atmosphere is going when people really start getting there. So, sometimes there's 100 people there, because we brought our 50, and there's, the other band members, their girlfriends, and then some people that genuinely love music so much, they'll show up to any local show and watch bands they've never heard of.
Yeah.
And we would come out and throw down from the drop, and either we would naturally, organically, immediately get everyone up to the stage. And if that didn't happen at the end of the first song, I would yell at the crowd, I'm going to get your fucking asses up here. Come on. We're going to kick some fucking ass tonight. And I'd get these motherfuckers up there. I'd be like, come on, you. It's because I could, at the front of the stage, I could walk literally and put my head like right below the light barrier, I guess.
Right.
And once I put my head past, I could see everything. Yeah. And I could see, like, all right, there's still 12 of you back there. Get up here. And they would. I don't know what it was. And then anytime there was a decent sized crowd, I could we'd stop, and I would literally just hold my arms open, and fucking people would just, and then my ability would be like, make some fucking noise for me. People would fucking respond to that shit. Like, I will tell you, I never thought I was actually a good singer. Ever. Especially in retrospect, I've gone back and listened to some of that old shit. But I was a great, and that I do know.
There's no question about it. There's no question
very
about
confident about that. Like, I was the fucking man.
You're a very outspoken person, but you're very in people's face in a positive way. You want everybody to have a good time. You want to keep them entertained. And I mean, you were a lot better than the other singers that I played with.
Well, I was good enough to keep my job and have other bands ask me to sing for them later in my career. But I really probably was never going to be able to like carry any band vocally. My scream was pretty dope and it got better.
No, your scream was great.
But my singing...
I listened to our show from Star Central that we recorded. It's on my iPod.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. And there were a lot of songs. Your screaming was... I don't like to compare people with other people, but
sure,
I put it up there with like Corey Taylor. It was I liked it. I thought it was great with what we had. And there were still other songs that were melodic that you did sound good. There were a couple you didn't.
Yeah.
I mean,
dude, I didn't know how to sing. I still technically... I mean, and this is what I tell people is like almost all singers are better singers than... Like, that's just what it is. I don't have a great sounding voice. I can stay on pitch now. Dude, I used to have a hard time just like hitting a note properly from go. Like I'd have to like and then I could fucking once I knew where whatever random ass note I was hitting, then I could like then once that note was there, I could bring it back up and hit it again and start in the proper spot. But yeah, it was bad, dude. It was not very as a vocalist.
Well, that concert reminded me of when we played that Seven Dust song and I dropped my stick. Remember that?
Right, we did do a cover of a Seven Dust song. Yep.
And on that recording during Battle of the Bands, the guitars came in, you sang the beginning part, and then when the drums come in on the hi-hat, I dropped my stick. And then you were all like, so what'd you guys think? That's it. You know, and the people were laughing, you know, because they were having a good time at that point. You know, they were comfortable with you. They were having fun. So people thought it was funny, but I remember I did not think it was so fucking funny.
I don't remember this.
Like I froze, dude, for like 2 seconds. Like I just did not fucking do that. I just did not fucking drop a stick, Battle of the Bands, a cover tune, you know. But after that song, we played 2 songs in a row. I don't remember the name of the first one, but Hope Is Falling was the second one. And then we got him back in. And just to remind you...
It's almost like a comedian losing the crowd for a moment.
Right.
If you don't handle it right.
Just to remind you on that recording, and I'll try to bring it next time I'm on.
sure I have a physical copy of that somewhere.
The crowd cheer for Hope Is Falling. You can hear the whole...
It's a fucking, yeah.
They fucking went nuts for that song.
You want to hear a funny story? Do you remember?
That's what we're here, right?
Do you remember
funny stories?
Do you remember who recorded that album?
Yes, it was the guy from he was a drummer for the band Banehinge.
Yes. Do you remember his name?
Oh, I want to say Matt.
No.
He was fucking cool though. He was a cool guy. He was really cool. He made everybody sound great. I can't remember his name, dude. I'm gonna once you tell him, you'll be like, "Yep, that's it." Al Bourne. That's it. Dude was so fucking cool.
Guess who I just convinced to play drums on my project?
Al Bourne? Dude, I gotta see him again, man. He was the coolest dude ever.
Yeah.
Like he's just so mellow and just talks to you about your music.
He's the nicest, kindest, most gentle dude.
Dude, he's cool.
He's
coolest
so
guy I ever
nice.
met.
He's so fucking nice, dude.
And he made us sound dope, dude, on that recording.
Yeah. Yeah, he did, dude.
Yeah.
And he did a really good job because he actually put up separate mics facing the crowd so he could capture the crowd noise. Yeah, he was the man.
And I have to say, just because I was the drummer, my drums sounded good.
Yeah.
Exactly
what
I like. I like that wet sound on the pedals and that booming sound on the toms and that snap on the snare. It was great. It was a great mix.
Yep.
He did a fantastic job. But yeah, he was... you know who else was cool? The drummer for Kuhn and Oon. We played a show with them. Dude, I met him twice, okay? And every time I met him, because we played with him twice, he was always cool. We'd always talk about my drum set and then talk about his drum set. And I remember when we played them in the Battle of the Bands, he came up to me afterwards. He's like, you guys were tight. Like I can tell you guys rehearse. Like, you guys were awesome. And he's just a cool guy. That whole band was cool. They had a girl singer, right?
Eventually, they did get a chick singer, and I think technically they're still going with her. And they were always a great band.
Yeah, they were good.
Dude, but they got even better. Like, it's hard to imagine hearing a band that was already that good and then being like, dude, they got like 10 times better later.
Right.
But they did somehow. I don't know what it was because I know they also had the same bass player like the whole run of that band,
Mm-hmm.
and he was fucking awesome too. And I think they did. I think they switched drummers somewhere in there, and maybe that's what it was. I don't know, but somewhere along the line, that band just got better, and they were already good. They were always good. Yeah, they were a cool band. Epicurean was in that battle. We played with.
I didn't like their
Epicurean.
singer. I thought he was a dick.
Who was their singer at the time?
I think his name was Chris. I want to say Chris.
Chris.
I think.
Because eventually it was a dude named John.
Maybe it was John.
And John, we called him Laramie because they all were named John for a while. Like almost everyone in that band was named John for a short period of time.
Right.
And John was actually really fucking cool once you got to know him. But he was a straight up rock star and pissed a lot of people off. A lot of people didn't like him.
I remember
until you got
that.
to know him. And then you're like, dude, this guy's fucking awesome. And I never had a problem with him. He was always cool to me, probably because we were both lead singers in metal bands. And there's like the brethren, you know, like all drummers get along. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, but I heard that about him for years. And he is a cool fucking dude. He's a sweetheart.
I remember John Densmore, the drummer.
Gensmer.
Gensmer.
Dude, he's still doing shit. He's playing with fucking Chris Hockey from K-Fan.
Oh, really?
And you know that little side project they have with Pete Bursich, the metal band?
Mm-hmm.
He's the drummer in that.
Oh.
Yeah, dude. John's fucking...
He's a good drummer.
He's a great drummer.
I remember the bass player was his girlfriend. That blonde girl.
Was he dating her?
Yeah, well, yeah, dude, yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh,
He's
you didn't
married
know?
now with kids. He's married to this really fucking cool chick named Irene.
And I remember we played with them twice, didn't we?
She's
Epicurean.
awesome.
Did we play 2 shows with them?
I can't tell you, dude. I can't remember because I played with Epicurean probably almost 100 times throughout my career, and I know a lot of them were with Dying Euphoria, but we did some with Solace and Ashes. We did some with 7 Months of Nothing. Like we played shows with them so many times I couldn't tell.
Weren't they signed to some label?
Eventually, they did get signed to Metal Blade. Yeah.
And when we played them in the battle, though, were they signed at that point?
No, unless they had signed to like some local thing.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like they had something. It was a what do you call it? A branch off of a major label. It was another label, but it was a sister label or brother label.
Maybe.
Anyway,
I didn't pay attention to
when we beat them, that was the shocker to me. That was the second round. Yep. And I remember I was sitting there with some people that I worked with at Blockbuster. I'm a manager and a coworker, and there's some girls there from there, and we were all just sitting there talking. And I wasn't expecting anything. I wasn't expecting us to. And I'm sitting there. You're off with a couple other bands. We're just chilling. I think we all thought we were done in the water.
Yeah. Because
we played against them. We played against Kunanun, and there was another band that was somewhat up there. Anywho, and then when they announced our name. Dude, I almost lost it. Like, that's the show where, like, Joe had to come talk to us and be like, hey, it's awesome you guys won, but try to keep your excitement level down. Because we just jumped, like, all our friends and everybody just jumped up and cheered. Because it was shocking. We didn't think, because more of our people showed up for the second round. And we won.
Yep.
And we had a
bunch, and that's the show we opened. We played first that night.
Was it first or second?
Either way, we didn't play last, like the first night.
Yeah.
The first round, we played last.
Yeah.
The second round, we did not play last. I don't remember when we played.
It was early.
But I remember we also had a bunch of people show up, watch our set, vote for us, and leave. And then we had a bunch of people that literally couldn't stay, but they showed up, paid admission, voted, and left. Because they were there to support us, but they couldn't stay. So they like stopped, had a beer, and left. Right? So that was fucking insane. And then I remember thinking we had a chance to win the finals and being so devastated when we not only did we lose, but we came in third.
Yeah.
And it was like such a fluke for us to get there.
But
because I'm so competitive, I fucking hate losing.
Third out of what, 12, 14 bands or
something?
Oh
no, it was way more than that. Way more than that.
I don't remember.
Way more than that. It was a fucking. Oh my god. No, that was. There's like 27 bands. 30 bands, something like that.
Yeah, it was upsetting when we lost. Like I was crushed, just like you, but I got over it quickly because we came in third.
And we also immediately started getting put on all the legit bills,
Right.
still as an opener.
Yeah.
But suddenly we weren't opening for bands that no one had heard of, and suddenly we weren't drawing more than, because that's the other thing is, remember when we were opening at the beginning, we were the only band drawing anybody. We'd get done, and then our friends and fans, or whatever you want to call them, they were friends, they weren't fans, they were friends supporting us. They'd see the next band and they'd be like, "Oh, these guys suck, dude. I'm gonna get out of here. Like, let me know when you guys are playing again." And we did it, and we did it, and we did it, and then that battle of the bands happened, which was pretty early on for us, and then we never went back to playing small crowds.
Right.
We started getting booked on like legitimate actual bills where we would bring our 50 to 100 people. And we were starting to actually, I think right after that show, we immediately started drawing 200. So we'd show up as an opener, and there'd be people there that were technically there to see the headliner or the middle band or the warm-up or whatever, direct support, because most of those bands were 4 bills, except for the battle, it was 3 for. So we had 4 bands, and we were still opening, but these guys actually were like, "Yeah, but I came early because I wanted to see you guys."
Right.
And it was like, it was wild. And then when we got off, the crowd just got bigger because we were, so early, and people are still getting there.
Right.
And it was like, okay, this is what the real music industry looks like. Got it. And it was like, I knew we were running. But I also remember talking to you guys immediately after that, and I go, "Okay, guys, now we're just a small fish in a bigger pond again." Like, we were clearly the more experienced band when we were doing those literal shit shows at the fucking Enigma Center and the garage. Like, we were the more experienced band. We sounded better. We had better equipment. Clearly, we worked harder, right? So it showed. Now we're not. Now we're back to being the worst band on the bill.
Yep.
So you guys, we got to work way harder than we did before. And that's the kind of shit that pissed everybody off. That's what got me kicked out of that band. It's literally the same thing that got me kicked out of Solace and Ashes, which is, and I quote from the dude who kind of the spokesperson for the fight, was you come to rehearsal every day with a list of things that need to get done, and you won't leave until somebody's been assigned to every task.
Right.
And I was like, well, that's what we got to do to succeed. And they're like, well, we don't know if we want to like make it anymore. We think we might just be cool with like being a local band. And I was like, okay, then I don't want to be in this band anymore. Like, you don't even have to kick me out. We can just part ways peacefully now. Like, there's not even any hard feelings. If your goals have changed, mine aren't changing. I'm still trying to do this for a living. I know this is what I want to do. If you guys are questioning it, okay, sorry. Because for me, it's not work. Like, I love everything about being, and this isn't just music either. Like, that infectious thing that you talked about, like from when we were younger and why you wanted to jam with me, like, for me, it's a natural passion, and I had it for baseball and football as well. Like, I remember pulling up to practice one time as a little kid, like 8, 9, 10, 12, 14, whatever it was, through different sports. And I'd be so excited to get to practice. And I'd go, "Mom, these other kids, I know they don't really like baseball or football or whatever sport I was in." She's like, "Why?" And I was like, "They always I like practice. They don't like practice. They only want to play games. They hate practice. I love going to practice. I love everything about it." It's the same thing with music, right? Like, a lot of guys hate having to go to rehearsal. They hate getting in the studio, right? Or they hate touring, but they love still playing live. Some guys hate playing live, believe it or not, but they don't mind that other stuff. At some point in time, something in part of this career starts to seem like work to them. Me, I love it all. I love the entire process from top to bottom. I love going to rehearsal. I love writing music. I love collaborating. I love seeing something that was a seed of an idea that came out of my brain, and then hearing you or somebody else put another part over the top of it, and then when the vocalist comes in, and all of a sudden this whole thing's like, it's real now. It's like, we can listen to this and it sounds amazing and it's catchy and it's a good tune. I love that process. And then building the album and like the painstaking labor of fucking trying to find either the right graphic designer or the right of art or something to, like, that's part of that process. Recording that album, okay, now let's go into the fucking studio. And it's tedious and nerve-wracking and expensive. For me, love it. I love every single part of it. And then the live, the touring, like none of it's work to me. It's all an insane amount of fun. So I never feel like, oh, dude, just it's not worth it. It's like, well, I want to do things, and I don't want to be shitty at them.
Right.
Whether it's football, baseball, music, this podcast, like I want to do it to what I think is a level of integrity that can be respected. And so, I don't know, there's something just different about that. And so I kept going with it. You know, I ended up in a couple more bands. Eventually I decided, I'm like, fuck it, dude, I'm going to start a rock band and learn how to play drums for real finally. Like, I'd watched you play air drums. You taught me how to play air drums. So I'd been like practicing. Like, and I could jump on a drum set, play along to a bunch of songs because you had taught me how to air drum 10 years before that, right? And you're like, this is. And I dick around on your kit from time to time. So I kind of knew the basics. I knew the concept of what I was trying to do. And I had these beats in my head. And then I just had to figure out how to make it happen, you know? And then I started a fucking rock band. And, you know, then all of a sudden where we kind of started this conversation was like, I've never played guitar on stage. And then I'm sitting here realizing it. I'm like 30 years old. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck it, man. I'm going to start a band. And I'm going to play guitar. For once, I'm going to play guitar and I'm going to do it on stage. It's going to be great. It's going to be cool. I'm not going to sing. I'm not going to play drums. Like, I'm going to make sure I do this. It's going to be great. And it's taken me a long time because I you know, especially like COVID and all that. It's been a bitch getting this music written and getting this album, keeping the album going. It's tedious, but it's been cool.
You've sent me a couple of songs.
Yeah, like demos.
They're pretty tight.
Demos
I like
and
them.
shit. Yeah, I've got different stages, so I probably sent you the same song in like 3 or 4 different versions. Like, here's what the basic idea. A few months later, Jeremy put vocals over. Here's the shitty vocal version, and then all of a sudden, Dalton and I recorded like a high fidelity version where we kind of like touched up the guitars and tightened up the drums and. Probably sent you that, but that's probably missing vocals. So it's the same song probably,
right,
in just like 3 or 4 different versions. And we're getting closer. We're getting closer. Al's one of the biggest hindrances is me not understanding how to get this shit to the right format for these guys.
Right.
So because they're not all in Logic or Pro Tools or whatever program you're using, so I got to convert it to the right file format so they can just open it and start recording to it. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm such an idiot. I'm a straight up Neanderthal when it comes to that kind of shit, dude. So Al's literally still waiting for me, and Jeremy can't figure out how to send him the real sessions. So like the same thing because of the format deal. So these guys are getting like compressed MP3s into. Sorry guys. But where we were going with this, or where I wanted to start going with this, is like when you left, you started getting into the movie shit, and you were always into movies.
Well, yeah, I was always into movies for as long as I can remember. Probably
almost as much as music, I'd say, if not more.
Well, I started loving movies when I was probably about 4. Remember, because the first movie I ever saw was The Crew. And I remember we missed the first 10 minutes. We walked into the theater at the point where Daniel's getting his ass kicked for the first time at the beach. So we missed a little bit of it, but I remember going, and it was a great film that was directed by John G. Avildsen, who did Rocky. He was very good at the underdog story.
Stallone did Rocky.
He did Rocky 2, 3, 4, and 5.
But he did write the original.
He
Rocky
wrote the
film.
original one.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
So it was an underdog film, which was very well done. I mean, the score is great. It's a great performance from Ralph Macchio, especially Pat Morita, who got an Oscar nomination for that movie. So good. And he was a comedian before that.
Really?
He was on Happy Days, and he was known as a comedian. He had never done a dramatic role. So
he's kind of funny. I've seen him since then. He's kind of funny, so that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, he was really funny too. He's a funny comedian. but that was his first dramatic role. The ending's great. I mean, it's predictable. Dog win. But the way the film was written and directed, it was just, it's one of those really feel good movies like Rocky and things like that. So that was my first experience at a theater, and when I was a kid, I always wanted to go to the theater. I always wanted to go see a movie. I didn't care what it was. And what really, really got me into movies is I had an uncle that was that lived back east, and when we would go visit, the first thing I would do when we'd get to their house is go downstairs and check out his movie collection. Hundreds or thousands of movies. I would sit there and look at them for hours and read the back and whatever. And I remember there were many fights with my mom about, I want to watch this. No, you can't watch this. And my uncle would be like, oh, just let him watch it. You know, sometimes I won, sometimes I didn't. I remember he first got, when they first came out, a laser disc player. The movie was on, I think it looked like a record. And he had a system down there, and we watched Aliens on it. So I fell in love with film and being taken out. You know, when you're a kid, it takes you out of your reality for the world you feel like. But now, as I've gotten older, I look more at the technical stuff, what makes them great. And I mean, I could talk document the process of how film started with silent films, silent classic film, things like that. Tells us a story of the fact. Think about who killed this person. Hey, this is really funny. These guys, you know, things like that. It just gets you out of your reality. So over the years, I just I've seen probably over, no joke, I probably have seen over 1,000 movies. But as I get older, what I've realized is that I search more independent movie budget films.
Oh, really?
I mean, I still like the big budget films, like the Marvel movies.
Grab a beer.
Oh, go right ahead.
Keep going.
So I like those type of movies, but no, I'm good. And the big budget movies, when I was a kid, they were really entertaining because the way they made films back in the 80s, actors, stories, it was a time where there was a lot of originality. You know, that's why I think to me anyway, golden age of film. Yes, there are some great films from the 70s and 60s and 50s. But the 80s had so many iconic films that are, you know, registered with the film registry in Washington. It's been preserved, and so it was a good time to become a film fan because
well, and there was,
so
it
many
seemed
classics.
like there also was more freedom back then, because it seemed, maybe I'm wrong, but it seemed like there was less pressure to make a lot of money. And I think there's a couple reasons for that, but the biggest one is that the movie-going experience was a standard American tradition and pastime through the mid 90s.
I wouldn't even go that far. I'd say by the 91, that's when things started going downhill. And
it was because of like rentals and shit. It started because just in case, I don't want to insult anyone's intelligence and like state the obvious here, but in case anyone has no idea what the fuck we're talking about, is that used to be the only way you could see a movie. There was no renting it. That started in the 80s. Yep. You could finally, in somewhere like early to mid 80s, you could go rent a VHS tape
or beta.
And that slowly took like 10 years before it actually started 5-10 years before it really started hurting the theater industry. And the reason I'm bringing this up, I'm not trying to like be all deep and philosophical, but I've had this argument with friends like, dude, the theater industry is dead. And it's like, well, now it's official because of COVID, but it was dying before that.
Yeah, because they're because it's so expensive. That's what gives them their concessions.
Concessions.
That's why you see more movie theaters with bars in them, like the.
Explain to people why that is, for people that don't know. Why is it that? Because I know the answer, but I'm gonna talk enough over the next 8,000 of these podcasts. Explain to the listeners that don't know, why is it that theaters only make money on concessions?
Well, the studio gets about 98% of the grosses that come in.
So literally
theater,
ticket sales. So when you buy your $12 ticket,
it's going to the studios. It's not going to the movie theater.
Almost 100% of that revenue.
Yeah. Now the movie theaters get a very small commission from it because they are showing their films in their theater. That's why concessions are so expensive.
And doesn't the theater also have to pay like a $1,500 licensing fee to play that?
I'm sure they do. I'm sure
the theater has to pay to play the movie anyways. Then the studio takes almost 100% of the ticket sales.
Yeah.
So the only place they make money is on those concessions. So literally, and it's insane because it's a $8 box of Milk Duds that I can literally get for 99 cents across the street at the Walmart.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. So
it's
like you
ridiculous.
said, so now they put bars in there because I'll do
Yeah,
that shit. I'll buy some fucking beers, baby.
They got beers in there, and they're trying to bring in more
they got
people
the reclining
in the
seats.
They got
reclining
seats,
heated.
You know.
They'll serve you sometimes at your thing. You hit a little button, and girl will come up and be like, "What can I get you?" She's ducked down all fucking low and shit. Oh, I want the biggest, nastiest beer you got. And she's like, "All right, sir." And then you give her your card right there. She scans it. You sign a little thing, give her a little tip, and then like 5 minutes later, a different person comes from the other side of the theater and walks up in there like, "Here's your beer, sir." And fucking dude, it's dope. It's dope, but it's also still expensive. That whole process now, it became more of a date night again. Like now it's something Kate and I, before COVID, we would go like once a week on Tuesdays usually because we're cheap Jews. And I can make that joke because I'm Jewish. Okay, so I can make Jew jokes because I'm Jewish. You can't. Neither can you, and neither can any of you on the internet. But
I got other ways to make fun of you.
The list is long, but it was a thing. So we would go out even on Tuesdays where it's $5 movie tickets because we knew what was what. That's the studio getting less money, so we didn't give a fuck what day we went on. We'd go on Tuesday. There's also less people there.
Yeah.
So we'd get down. We'd fucking order a couple drinks at the bar while we're waiting for our movie. We'd get there early, and then we'd sit down. We'd drink. We'd fucking have a good night. And sometimes we'd eat food right there. They have a menu. Sometimes we'd go out for dinner after. But it was a thing again. Regular movie theaters, fuck that. They died a long time ago. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because now
streaming ruined
exactly. And it's gone in. I'm going to go in reverse, Tarantino style, to reference Eric from last night. We kept using that reference, jumping around the timeline. So like, people don't understand a lot, especially like guys like my brother's age. They're fucking 20 years old. They don't understand, like, when Netflix came out, the online streaming thing specifically devastated the movie industry.
Well,
like,
first
like theaters and things like that.
First it devastated the rental store.
That's when regular Netflix came out. That's why I'm going in reverse. So streaming, this new thing, online streaming, straight to your phone, everything's available, all this cutting the cord shit.
Right.
That's the final basic blow to the theater industry. Now, before that, you had death to the video rental business when Netflix came out and started mailing motherfuckers DVDs. Dude, I remember the day I discovered Netflix. I went to work the next day and wouldn't shut the fuck up. I was like, yo, this shit is the future. This is the future, you guys. And everyone's like, shut the fuck up. No one's going to fucking mail you DVDs. I'm like, I'm not making this up. I didn't start this company. It's already a thing. And they're like, what is it? And I explained it to them, and they're like, that's stupid. They'll never last. There's no way they can make money. And I was like, dude, you don't understand.
Did you know I worked there? I worked for Netflix.
Eventually. Yeah, you worked for all that. You worked for Hollywood. You worked for
Video,
Blockbuster, Video Update.
Adventures in Video.
Yeah.
I worked at Adventures in Video.
All of them, dude.
And then at Netflix, I was a supervisor in their warehouse.
Yep.
Dude, it was so fucking strict, dude.
Between
Between the hours of 2 a.m. and 8 a.m., they had to sift through envelopes and make sure the movies were there. They could not talk. They could not listen to music. Nothing.
Fuck that job.
Nothing. And all my job was to walk down the aisles and just spot check DVDs. Second part of the day, in the days.
Do you know how
like,
many times I sent back the wrong DVD?
You know how many DVDs I still have from Netflix? And the second part of the day, your days were long. They were 15, 16 hours long.
Holy shit.
Yeah, dude. That's when I discovered 5-hour energy. Okay.
Good drink.
Yeah. So the second part of the day was shooting, and the machine would shoot them down, you know, in auto envelope, and put them in the envelope. The machines would do all that. Man, if one envelope or one thing got stuck, it took like an hour to fix it. And you just fucking waiting. They had to reset everything. Dude, they and then I got into that car accident that started this whole back issue.
Oh, fuck.
And then I got let go because I couldn't physically perform the job anymore.
Right.
I'm gonna tell you something. I fucking miss it because I had to be to work at fucking 1:30 in the
like
morning.
A shit
I had to
job,
be there at 1:30 in the morning, which means in the summertime I had to go to bed by 6 o'clock. The sun's still shining bright. Okay, I had to wear a mask. Kids are all outside yelling and screaming like an eye mask. Okay, 1:30 in the fucking morning, and it was a good paying job, and there was room for advancement. Fortunately, accidental job. So, but yeah, Netflix really fucked the video store, and I miss video store. Don't you remember that Friday night getting together with your friends, waiting for that new release to be dropped off? You could get one. You could rent video game systems. You could rent video games. And I miss that. And
it was a cool cultural thing, especially on a date with a girl. Like, part of the deal is you'd go and you'd look at the movies together and like, check this one out, and she'd read the back of the cover and like. But
I have fond memories of it when I was a kid.
This is better.
But that gave me fond memories as a kid.
Yeah, I get it. I mean? Yeah, when you'd go and mom would let you rent a video game or an entire system.
There's one video store moment that I'll never forget. It will always burn in my mind. Living in Ohio, that Rocky IV came out.
Yes, one of my favorite movies of all time.
We used to go to one of these hole-in-a-wall video store. They were really small, where the floors would creak when you'd walk on them. Felt like you were walking in a house, not a video store.
Yeah.
I remember my mom was like, I'll stop there and see if Rocky, because we couldn't get it. We could not fucking rent it. Because back in the day, they didn't have 50 copies of a movie like they did later on. They had like 5 because VHS, $50 back then. It was crazy. So we stopped in there, and my brothers and I sat in the car. She was just going to run in and
$150 back then.
It was a lot of fucking money for a VHS tape, dude. Okay. Yeah. So I remember we were sitting in the car, anxiously awaiting, because there was a door, and there was a glass door, and she would. We were waiting, and finally she came. And we were looking for we were trying to get this thing for like 2 months. Wanted to see it because Rocky going against the Russian guy. Is he gonna lose? Whatever. And I remember she opened the door and she went, "I got it." And my brother, nuts, dude. Like we just won $1 million,
dude. And the best part of the story is it's actually worth it. Like,
it's
such a good movie.
Yeah.
Like imagine I don't know, just insert shitty bad movie here. What if you were that excited? You lose your fucking mind, and then like you go see it, like it's Mortal Kombat 2, right? Right? And you're like, that's what we've been waiting for. But thankfully it wasn't. It was Rocky IV, which is one of the greatest movies of all time.
And
especially if you're a guy.
It's memories like that I have such a love for video stores, but now they're gone. And back in those days, it was harder to get a copy of a movie you wanted to see. Where like today, you video on demand, still in the theater, but you can watch it on video on demand. Like the Bill and Ted Face the Music, that's going to VOD. It's not going to the theater.
That's what I think's interesting, because I've been kind of predicting most of this pretty accurately ever since Netflix showed up on the block. I literally was like, dude, you guys don't understand. I'm at work. My buddy Anwar, who was my boss at the time, very good friend of mine now. He's actually going to be on the podcast, I think, next week. I think we're going to do a football one. Football season's coming. We're going to fill up a lot of time talking football.
You got a third person.
I need a third mic and a third fucking headset is what I need. It's going to be a minute.
I'll fucking scream if I have to.
It's fucking, it's $200 every time I want to add.
Can I say something now? Oh.
It's,
Sorry about that.
Feel bad for the guests and shit, because like I've had weeks and weeks to be on phone calls, like just getting the base. You were asking me before the podcast how long it take you to get all this set up, and I'm like, months. Dude, it took a while just for me to figure out how to do a FaceTime call, and the camera part was easy,
right?
Getting the camera to work on a FaceTime call, but then literally figuring out a way to get this quality of sound to go through that interface and then get into the computer. Just that alone was like, fuck, man. And then figuring out everything else, dude, it was and then, but same thing, like getting comfortable with this. Like I can go all the way back here, and I'm just so habitual in keeping this here. And I feel bad for the guests, because my buddy Dalton came to troubleshoot one with me. Dude, he had like a solid 5-minute point he went on.
Yeah.
And I didn't fucking realize it because we didn't have headphones on, so you can't monitor your voice. That's why we have the headphones, because you can actually hear the volume your voice should be.
Right.
So you can kind of tell when you start getting... Oh, fuck. It's almost like your own self-reminder. But I've been pretty good at predicting this whole like movie industry shit since Netflix showed up on the block. Anwar, he got so annoyed with me because I wouldn't shut the fuck up about how Netflix... I'm like, dude, this Netflix thing, it's going to change the world. They're like, dude, that's so dramatic. I'm like, dude, there will be no more Blockbuster. There will be no more rentals, like blah, 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 blah. If I would have had money to invest in stock back then, I would have fucking done it, and I'd have been a genius, right? It's like discovering or knowing about Apple or Amazon before they blew up, right? And then all of a sudden I'm sitting there and I go to order my DVDs or fill up my queue, and I sign into Netflix on the computer, a regular computer. We didn't have you didn't jump on the internet on your phones back then.
Nope.
Like, I think you could, like, go to Google and do text searches and shit. Like, on certain phones, you could get to, like, the main Google page and, like, type a search and, like, read an article.
Right.
Or read a web page or whatever. But there was none of the smartphone shit. And all of a sudden, instead of having to put something in my queue, it said, watch. Like, what? I hit the little button. Sudden computer screen and started playing. And I went, oh, we can watch this shit directly now. Oh boy, dude, I'm like, my mind was so blown. It was like you gave me like 6 hits of acid and it just kicked in. That's how crazy. And I felt like I saw the future, and I was like, dude, this is going to end the movie industry or the theater industry. I saw it right then. I was like, this is it. Because people don't... So Netflix did the mail-in DVD things. That directly immediately started killing Blockbuster and Hollywood Video. And I think Video Update and Hollywood Video immediately went out of business.
Video Update was out of business before they...
Okay. And then Blockbuster was like, fuck them. We're going to do our own thing.
Yeah, they tried doing the mail-in.
Yep. Or you could just drop it off at the store.
Yep.
And that was dope because you could drop it off, and then when they scanned it in the store, it automatically shipped your next movie. So for a short minute, it was actually way better than Netflix. And so Netflix, that was like Blockbuster, like they got punched in the mouth. Boom, they hit back. They're like, because they had the infrastructure and like a huge company, they could have easily beaten Netflix at that game. Well, so somebody at Netflix got smart and started streaming, and that was it. Blockbuster was dead within a year.
The other thing about that, too, is that DVDs just came out like a year before Netflix started. Remember that? They weren't around for very long. DVDs started in the late 90s.
You have to be right. You have to be right because, there was a quick transition because not everyone had even a DVD player when it first came out. I mean, most of us did, especially if you had like an Xbox or a PlayStation already. You could watch DVDs and shit, but yeah, it was just one of those things. And like,
I'm just looking up what year.
And here's where I'm going with this, because I am making a point here. Is you had mentioned in the 80s, like what you think that's
90s,
the golden...
Sorry to interrupt. 96
is when the DVD came out.
Is when the DVDs were
But
released.
it took a few years before it really hit
Netflix
hard.
started like 3 or 4 years.
Maybe. I don't know. But regardless, you were saying the golden age of movies for you at least was in the 80s.
Correct.
And I think it's interesting because I think the reason for that is because they had this economic freedom because again, going to the theaters, which is where your only avenue was for a long time, was still a real part of it. So all movies went to the theater at some level or another, or if they were B movies, it went straight to VHS or played in like some B movie theater.
Well, no, they played on the pay channels like HBO, Showtime, Cinemax.
Sure.
That's where those played at that time.
And then basically speed up to what we're talking about. Now, if you want to make a movie, it's got to be Avatar, it's got to be Marvel or DC or whatever. It's got to be a huge blockbuster
or a reboot, remake, or a reimagining of an older film.
But they're all spectacular. The freedom that you're talking about in the golden age of the 80s for Hollywood is now you're seeing it on these streaming platforms.
Yeah.
But they're not coming in the form of just movies. It's television. These shows. Like, I think shows are the new movies. Like, it's so hard to get in and out and truly complete, fully rich story, especially when you've built a world, like an Avatar. It's so hard to, like, really do your world justice in a 2 or 3 hour movie. But 4 to 7 season TV show where each episode's an hour long. Oh my God, dude! You build these entire, and I think that basically is what I'm getting at is kind of, I think that is going to be the last vestige of movies that do survive in the theater are going to be franchises where people are building a world and they can just keep putting out. So we're not basically. We don't become the Tropic Thunder joke where dudes like making, what was it like? What was Ben Stiller's character? What movie was he making? In Tropic Thunder.
Tropic Thunder, yeah.
What movie was he making?
Tropic Thunder.
No. Yeah, where he was like
Simple Jack.
No.
Or Scorcher.
Scorcher.
That's
what it.
Scorcher
like,
4.
Yeah.
Here we go again.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah, exactly. And then it was Scorcher 5 and 6 and 8. You know, and it's like, okay. So we're not doing that, but look at Star Wars. So Star Wars did end up having the full 9, just like George Lucas originally wanted way back in the 80s. But now you're seeing Rogue One. You're seeing fucking Solo. You're seeing Mandalorian, right? So you're seeing these worlds that can continue. Mandalorian was dope. I seen it.
Show.
Yeah, I thought it was great. Kate loved it. We're gonna get Disney Plus when it comes back, dude. I'm super excited about all of their shows, actually. I just think that's really the only things that seem to be like Lord of the Rings. There was 3 of those, but then they also made 2 Hobbit movies. 3 Hobbit movies, right? Fucking obviously the Marvel franchises. So not only do they have each character in the Avengers movies, but they can continuously add on. They can retcon things. So Black Widow is going to come out. That's not happening right now. Fucking Captain Marvel, they introduce a new character. Nope, not new. She's been around since the 90s, right? Like that. I think personally, that's the only thing that's going to stay alive or keep the theater industry at all. Period.
Are the big franchises?
Yeah, that can continuously be.
Oh, there's no doubt.
In on.
Yeah, there's no doubt that is what's
but I think
making them survive.
Correct, and I think eventually even those are going to die. And I think COVID will be the thing. But here's what I'm thinking with this COVID. I'm thinking drive-in.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's only one here in Minnesota, and
where is it?
It's in Lake Elmo.
So they used to have one in fucking Blaine called High 65.
Yeah, that closed when I first met Jamie. We went there once, and then they closed.
We need to get that
later.
fucking thing reopened.
They're trying to get another drive-in somewhere here in this area, but the one in Lake Elmo, it's not that far long. It's like 25-30. A nice drive.
And they were sick too, because you'd watch 2 or 3 movies.
3.
Sometimes
your last movie would end at like 1-2 in the morning.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it was sick, dude. Bert Kreischer, I don't know if you know who that is. He's a comedian. He's a stand-up comic. He's doing a comedy tour right now at drive-in movie theaters.
Oh,
so
is he the guy that sings?
No, he's
You know who I'm talking about?
He's the one who stinks like shit and fucks dogs.
Oh yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, that's it's an inside joke.
What does he look like?
He's fat.
Oh, then
that's the old joke. That's the other joke. No, he's a He's not fat.
Huskier gentleman.
He's not fat. These are all inside jokes.
Okay.
These are all in. So there was an inside joke for years. He was the fattest, most racist comic in America. Not true. It's just something his buddy said, and then told all their fans to like start trolling him with online, and it worked. And then they switched it up a while back, and they're like, no, now he's not the fattest racist comedian anymore. Now he stinks like shit and he fucks dogs. And so now that's what the joke is like.
Right.
So, but he is what he actually is famous for is he's the dude who takes his shirt off. So every single show, every comedy show, it's him shirtless. He tells the machine story. That's what most people have heard.
Okay.
He's doing a tour right now where they show up at a drive-in theater, and it's a whole not comedy troupe, but a tour. There's like 3 or 4 comedians, not just him. They each do their thing. There's a stage they build in front of the big screen, or set up in front of the big screen, and then there's 3 cams. So they put that up on the screen, and then the audio comes through the radio in people's cars. Yeah. And he's like, dude, it's fucking awesome, man. It's kind of like a music festival, because like dudes are tailgating like before the show and shit. You know, some people have got like, they're literally grilling food. Right. Some guys are throwing a football around and shit. Like social distancing, he's like, it's a little questionable, but technically they're following all the rules.
Right.
And he's like, dude, it's just so dope, because when we're done, like at the end of the night, thank you guys, we're fucking, everybody fucking jumps in their cars and fucking lights on it. And it's just like, that's a cool, innovative way to do it.
That's a cool idea.
And if you could supplement the drive-in movie theater business with comedy shows, I think that industry could possibly still survive. And I think it's one of the only ways any version of the movie industry survives, especially during COVID or any other of these pandemics, because this is not the first one. This won't be the last one. Right. It's going to be a while before we're out of the woods with this specific one. But dude, there's more coming. Like whether this was biologically engineered, I don't know. Odds are it probably really did come out of this wet market in China. I mean, the biology like works, makes sense. So that's what I'm believing. The conspiracy though is that it was created in that lab in Wuhan and either intentionally or accidentally released. I don't know, but either one of those scenarios is still happening, right? So if the first one's true and it's a created thing, that lab's still around. They're still creating more shit. Like, it'll happen again, right? If it came out of the wet market. They didn't shut them down. They're still doing it. More is going to happen. Like, we're not done. So I think eventually regular theaters, unless you keep doing like what that place we were talking about, like I think AMC had a version of it. Marcus Theaters is one of them where they got the cushy seats that recline. Yeah. Some of them are heated. They'll serve you food and shit. Because then again, it's like a whole experience. Dinner and a movie, like to a new level.
Right.
If not, then fucking, I think drive-ins are the only way they get to go. And
but they have to build more. There aren't enough.
That's true. That's true. But regardless, I think we are still seeing like a renaissance in that freedom and that creativity on these streaming platforms. And I gotta say, you know, as much as I loved going to the theater, as much as I loved going to the movie store, this is better. Like, it's more convenient for me. At the end of the day, it's cheaper. I mean, for $10 a month or $15, I can binge and just gorge myself on content. I mean, how many movies can and TV shows, and the way they bundle all of it now, you know, a lot of them are starting to consolidate. So it's like Kate and I, we keep Netflix year round, and then we bounce around from like HBO Max to fucking Stars to Showtime over to Disney Plus, and we'll just pick them up and drop them as we want. Oh, and then we have Amazon because Prime, they got some fucking killer ass there, dude. Sneaky Pete, and that's, you know, originally the plan was to bring you on here and talk about movies, which we can still do, but I just the shows are where it's at for me now. You know, like shows have taken over for me as far as like, I still watch, don't get me wrong, but dude, these TV shows.
There are a lot of good TV shows. Netflix has got quite a few. Daredevil's a great show. I know we were talking about that earlier and liked it, but probably not as I did. But that is the only show out of all their DC shows like Iron Fist and Jessica Jones and Punisher and Luke Cage. Daredevil to me is the only one watchable. The other ones are terrible.
I loved the Punisher.
And then
I loved the Punisher. It had like a Coen Brothers feel. It was slow and grindy. It wasn't intense and flashy. That's what the comic books were.
I liked the Punisher in season 2 of Daredevil. I think that's better. Season 1's pretty. Third one was okay, but they left it as a cliffhanger, and then Netflix canceled it. But who was it? I think it was Disney was interested about picking it back up and starting. And they have to. It's such a great show. Ozark on Netflix is an awesome show.
Dude. Jason Bateman, he's on a fucking
everything
ride right now.
Everything he's in. I like his style of acting. And,
I don't know if it was his first movie, but his first like major participation in a big movie. He was actually in Dodgeball. He's the commentator.
No, Jason Bateman goes farther back than that.
Does he?
Teen Wolf 2.
See, I had no idea. That's why I was like, "That's the first big movie," because that's the first. And people are like, "Holy shit, is that Jason Bateman?"
Jason Bateman was in a few 80 movies. Teen Wolf 2 is.
So was he already famous by the time they did Arrested Development?
Oh yeah,
because that's when I found out
he was on a show in the 80s. I can't remember. We used to watch it all the time though. It was called Valerie. Or the Hogan Family. Hogan Family. It was a sitcom that lasted about 3 or 4 seasons. He got pretty popular from that. Then he was in some B movies. He was also on Silver Spoons with Ricky Schroeder back in the early 80s as Derek. Great character, very sneaky, very conniving, manipulative. Great character for him. And he played in some other TV shows that didn't work out so well. I want to say Arrested Development is what really kicked his career into geek.
I mean, and it seems like it was for me.
And then he started seen him in a lot of comedies, and then some like. Do you ever see the movie The Gift that he's in? The trailer makes it look really stupid.
It's a great movie.
I remember when I saw the trailer, I'm like, that looks like the dumbest fucking movie in the world. And then I watched it, and I was like, that was a kick movie.
Actually, I shouldn't say all day. Like the last couple hours since we've been doing this podcast. People probably think I was doing coke and shit.
I won't tell them. I won't tell them.
I don't do coke. I can't. I'm fucking hyper enough as it is.
So that's what got his career started. So Ozark is a great show. They just announced the next season.
Did you see The Outsider on HBO?
What was that one again?
It's Jason Bateman, but it's a Stephen King book. So fucking good, dude. It is amazing, man. I can't really give you the premise without completely confusing you and giving it away and spoiling it. But it's a Stephen King book. Jason Bateman is the main character. I think he directed like one of the first 2 or 3 episodes as well.
Familiar.
And it's who's the Australian guy who's been killing it lately. He's got the weird lisp. Well, cause like he was the Skrull character in Marvel. He's the villain in Ready Player One.
Oh,
what the fuck's that guy's name?
Really? Just watch that.
See, this is where I need a producer so I can be like, Jamie, pull that up.
Hang on. Once
I could look it up. I'm just too fucking lazy. My keyboard's way over here. I could share it on the screen, but I'm not. I'm lazy. Already afraid that this video is gonna be.
Why?
Still experimenting with shit.
Well,
yeah,
anywho,
but he's in it. So that guy that I'm talking about, whatever his fucking name is, and then and Jason Bateman, it's awesome, and I think they are gonna do a second season. So check that one out if you're looking for Jason Bateman.
Sounds familiar, like I see. I'll watch a show and then I'll get burned out on binging a show, so then I'll start go back to. My favorite shows are Breaking Bad, number 1.
It's pretty good.
That show,
I love that one.
I've watched that whole series more than 5 times. After that, Weeds, not Weeds. So I take that back.
That's a show that jumped the shark a few seasons in though.
After Breaking Bad, Sopranos is my second.
Oh yeah, Sopranos, great show. And that's kind of the one that jumped. I mean, Oz is really the show that jump started this whole wave of like long TV shows serialized properly. Like, yeah, I think, yeah.
But they're coming.
But it's still The Sopranos is Oz was huge and popular, but Sopranos was the first real one.
The Sopranos movie, Saints of New York, is coming.
Oh no,
it's a prequel about the Tony and Pussy and Silvio when they were younger. When they were younger,
so they can do it without James.
You know who's playing Tony Soprano?
Who?
James Gandolfini's son.
Oh no shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's coming out next year. It'll be a movie, video on demand.
Interesting. I just seen the two kids.
Who?
The two kids. What's the fucking?
Oh, Meadow and
Tony
AJ.
Or AJ. Yeah, AJ. They were on Your Mom's House podcast. Mm-hmm. Like them two together. They have a fucking podcast. They were on there promoting that. Right. They talked about a bunch of Soprano shit. Just weird that you bring it up.
Yeah, no, the Sopranos is one of my
I think
three
that's
shows.
That's gotta be
True Blood is number 4.
That was pretty good. Again, they jumped the shark.
Seasons, it
got a little wonky.
Weird, yeah,
but they did a really good job of recovering.
Yeah.
And the last season is really good again. I remember that one.
Yep. Great series. I think it went maybe 2 seasons. They could have shortened it up to about 5, maybe 6 seasons. So there's that, and
did you ever get into Walking Dead?
Oh hell yeah! Now I stopped watching midway through season 9. Like I was getting burnt out.
Which is season 9 now? See, this is my problem.
I think they're going into season 11. I think that's what's coming up next.
I got burnt out the season that preceded Negan getting his throat slashed. So the very next season was fucking boring, and I lost interest.
Spoilers in case anybody hasn't seen Walking Dead. There's going to be a bunch of them.
I forced myself because I was bored. I don't remember when, but I forced myself. I think it was right at the beginning of COVID when a bunch of shit got shut down. And I was like, well, fuck it. I'm going to catch up on all this shit now that I have time. And I forced myself to watch that season. And towards the end of it, it started getting really good.
Season 9?
Whatever happens. Okay, so one of the seasons ends.
You're talking about when Negan dies.
Basically.
That was, I believe that was the end of season 10.
Okay, so let's just say it is for the sake of argument. It doesn't matter, right? So he gets his throat slashed in the season finale. Mm-hmm. I finally went back and forced myself to watch the next season. Mm-hmm. And towards the end of that season, it actually started to get good again. And now there's 1 or 2 since that. And it picked right back up, dude. When they introduced that group, the Whisperers, shit got good again. Yeah, it got really good again. Then I was huge into Game of Thrones. For me, that was the greatest show ever written of all time until the last season. Some people say the last 2 seasons. I was able to stomach that 7th season. But season 8 is so bad that somebody needs to reanimate it. Animate it. Go back with all the fucking cast, have them animate it the way it should have ended, and just have them do the voices of it and give us a proper season 8. That one pissed me off because the showrunners were offered a full 10 episodes for both the last 2 seasons, 20 total. They're like, nah, we'll do it in 13.
Could have been it was getting too expensive for them. When they make decisions like that.
No, HBO wanted to do it right. They wanted out because they were getting Dave and Dan or whatever, D&D. They got the new Star Wars project. And so they wanted to get out of this so they could go do the Star Wars thing. And then they fucked that up and got fired, I think.
Wasn't that Solo?
Maybe.
I
have no fucking idea. But they're just they're the worst. That's the real fuck D&D.
So basically, there are some networks or streaming services that have good shows and some don't. I don't want to commit myself to a series because about 2 seasons in, unless you really got me, unless I'm really invested, I gotta stop, and then I don't watch the second half. So that's why I watch a lot of movies, because it gives me the time that I want to get invested in a story and
so
have
you can get in and out.
And out. Okay, I'm the kind of guy that likes longer movies. If it's less than 2 hours and 10 minutes, I won't see it in the theater. I'll wait till it comes out on whatever. but I like a nice long movie. I don't want an epic movie every time. Like that's 3.5 hours, like 10 Commandments,
right?
or a 6.5 hour movie like Jesus of Nazareth from
Or
the 70s.
Stand.
Or The Stand.
I watched The Stand on acid. Man, don't do that when you're fucking 16.
No, I went to Phantom Menace off of 6 hits of acid, but that's a story.
But
for
you were
another
an
day.
adult.
No, I wasn't.
When
Well,
Phantom
yes, I
Menace
was.
came out, you were a grown ass man.
I
I was like 15, 16 years old. I took a bunch of acid and fucking watched The Stand.
I was.
Yeah, you're a grown ass man.
So it's just sometimes I don't want to get like Mandalorian. Yeah, hell yeah, that show was awesome. Anything Star Wars puts out. But then there's other shows I just don't want to watch. So Netflix also releases a lot of movies too. They've been pumping out a lot of movies. And one of the movies I watched recently was The Five Bloods, Spike Lee movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Big dud.
Really?
Oh, dude. Look, I like Spike Lee. I think Spike Lee's a very talented director. He's had BlacKkKlansman.
I always get BlacKkKlansman was dope.
Awesome.
That was a great movie.
He deserved the Oscar he won for Best Original Screenplay. Finally, that's his first Oscar ever. That's why him and Samuel L. Jackson were hugging each other. Remember seeing the? And it was first of all, it was too long, and it was a film that didn't know what it wanted to be.
Yeah.
Did it want to be a heist movie? Did it want to be a racial movie? Which a lot of that in there. Spike Lee, with respect. Is it a movie about PTSD? Is it a movie about Vietnam? Just kind of all over the place. But Delroy,
and I think there's something similar to that with music, where you're all over the place, and it's like people are like, "Oh, it was just a bad idea," and it's like sometimes it's the execution. It was a great idea, and it could have easily been all of those things. And we could be talking about this movie like Platoon, 30, 40 years later,
classic.
like, oh, dude, there's, it's a war movie, but it's really about this, or it's also about, this or that or this. And there's so many layers. It's about all of these things because it was executed properly. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's what happened with this movie. Maybe it's just execution. I don't fucking know. I haven't seen the movie yet, so I shouldn't.
Because
maybe I should just shut the fuck up.
Spike Lee, great director. Malcolm, great movie. Do the Right Thing. Great. But so my point is that Netflix is also releasing shitty movies, and it's clogging up the streaming service. They're pumping out more Netflix movies every month, every year, to the point where it's just gonna. You'll find a few sprinkled in here that you can. From the 80s or whatever. That's why I don't like this platform, because they're all jumping on. They're all making their own TV shows, and they're all making their own. I think in about 4 or 5 years, except for Disney, they'll always keep their and HBO because they movies.
It seems like
people
like still,
but people like Netflix, they're bogging down their inventory with too much.
It still seems like they're getting access to each other's libraries from time being. Like Disney is still licensing out their shit to be on different platforms for periods of time. They're just maintaining and retaining the exclusive ability, or not the exclusive ability, but the ability for them to keep it on their streaming platform. So like for the longest time, you couldn't watch Infinity War on Disney Plus,
right? Because
it was still technically licensed to Netflix.
Marvel.
Well,
Netflix,
right?
Same with Indiana Jones, by the way,
right? But then they had Black Panther, I think, got added on there, but it was still on Netflix.
Yep.
Right, and now it's like I think Endgame or Infinity War, one of them, is still on that Disney Plus platform, but now it's also on Stars or something like TNT or whatever. So Disney's doing it right, and I think they're just so megalithlically big. I don't think that they'll fail. But I also think Amazon's here to stay, because Bezos is a fucking maniacal genius. I think Netflix is here to stay because they're the one that started this. They're the visionaries.
I'm not saying they're not going to be around for a little bit longer.
Hulu, I think, is a little sketch. HBO Max,
you know what?
They just doubled down.
Honestly, I think Hulu's better. Or make a better option, because it's not so bogged down by a bunch of their own shit. Plus, they have a lot of TV shows that I watched in the 90s. TGIF Fridays and ABC. Remember that? Family Matters, Full House.
Do you remember that show I recommended to you on Hulu?
Oh yeah, the dude that
was it, like Future Man?
Future Man, yeah.
That shit is hilarious.
That was a good show. I forgot about that one. That's a funny show. But like they have so many different options, and they have great indie films and things like that. Where Netflix is all about, let's get the most popular movies that everybody has seen 1,000 times.
Well, yeah, and they do that so they have some depth to their catalog, and they have some like good movies with replay value.
They have a lot of Bollywood films. Did you notice that?
Well, yeah, I mean, because here's the thing, and they also bought the rights to the entire. There's a Japanese genre of some version of anime or cartoon or something, and they got all of it. So it's the same thing. Like, man, they gotta. Like Amazon, dude, I watched this fucking documentary on Amazon, and like, dude, Jeff Bezos didn't just get lucky. This was all methodically planned, right? Like he decided to get on the internet because he read a stat like internet usage and traffic was increasing like 3,200% per day. So he's like, I gotta figure out a way to start a business and start selling shit online. Right. And he goes, well, I chose books because there's more books than any other product in the world. Like there's more books than there are movies. There's more books than there are stereo equipment, right?
Well, because books have been around for hundreds of years.
Right. And so he like did that thing, and then he's like, okay, we're gonna add the next thing, and then all of a sudden it's power tools, electronics, and then this, and then all of a sudden we want to fucking start adding in your ability to watch movies and content and stuff, because he wants you to be able to get whatever you want at Amazon. Netflix, HBO, Disney, all of these companies are trying to do that in some form or fashion, right? Because you got to understand, it's a subscription-based service, right? So their money is really based on keeping you as a customer. The only way they can do that is by continuously adding more value and a reason for you to come back to that platform. Netflix has such a big library from shit that they're putting up, from franchises and things they're purchasing rights to, like the Japanese thing, right? To old classic movies. It's all so they can stay what would be like the founding father of digital streaming integrity, right? Versus, say, an HBO Max. HBO Max is HBO Max now instead of just HBO, right? Because AT&T bought them. AT&T owns, or is owned by, I think, Viacom, which is like fucking, I think, CBS. Basically, everything is owned by a few companies, and it always has been. And these companies are just moving around now. So you got Disney, which owns all the Fox properties, right? You still have Sony, which is just a movie studio that's separate, but they have an affiliation with one of these streaming services. And then you've got now I think it's Viacom, AT&T. They bought HBO. So HBO is no longer just HBO content. It's any fucking movie or TV show that this company has ever made. It's all on one platform now. So now HBO, just like Disney, has their own organic library that they can stand on and say, we may not be a founding father of the streaming platform, okay, but we've got enough equity to stay. Is where the issue was for me in the future viability of these was Hulu for a long time. Because Hulu was supposed to be Fox and NBC, but that NBC got bought by Comcast, right? And then Fox sold their shit to Disney. So I just don't see Hulu being able to maintain that independent unless they continue to try to do what Netflix. I think that's what Netflix, because they're losing. They had an exclusive right with Marvel until Marvel sold to Disney, right? And then that was still kind of protected for a long time. Launch Disney Plus, rid of our affiliation with Netflix because we're just giving them money that they don't need. We'll just do this on our own now.
No, I'm surprised. Around.
They provide people so much better service.
Well, their internet, if you need a, right. I haven't had cable, and I sign up for Sling during the football. There's so much content.
I still do the cable though because of the consistency. Like there's no lag. I don't have to worry about buffering. streaming, and we way back in the day, we cut the and dude, our data started charging $20 a gig over whatever, and you can buy an unlimited plan, but the unlimited plan for Minneapolis,
$150,
something like that. Like, it's insane, and I'm like, there's no way. I might have. If I'm going to be uploading 3-hour podcasts on a regular basis, that's bandwidth. It's just not downloaded; it's uploaded. You know, it's still bandwidth and it's still data usage. I might have to, but
why don't you just go with
CenturyLink?
Yeah,
it's trash. It's
I've never had it, so
logically, right? What they sell is a fallacy. So they claim that they have fiber optic cable running all the way to your house, and it's faster than Comcast. Okay, that makes sense. However, still to this day, at least last time I checked, CenturyLink goes through your fucking phone line. You
still?
Yeah, like an actual phone jack. Yeah, it doesn't come through your cable, right? And that's just not how this technology works. Like, if you're not going, or I'm sorry, if you're going through a phone jack for that last this far distance of the line, the jack in your house, it doesn't fucking matter how fast the information got to that spot. It's still slowing down, like a construction zone. It doesn't matter if you're on the Autobahn, right? If in order for you to get to your house, suddenly you come around where there's no speed limit, and you come around and all of a sudden it's like LA traffic and you're at a standstill. And it's like, cool, well, I went 90 miles an hour the entire way here, but this last mile, I'm driving 1 mile per hour. That means it's still going to take me another hour for me to get to my destination. That's how the internet works.
Really? Thank you for explaining that, Jared. Folks, I was so confused on how the internet works when it slows down. I am so glad.
No, just with CenturyLink.
Oh, it's just with CenturyLink.
It's just that bullshit technology. Like, yeah, it's fiber optic all the way till here, but as soon as it goes through that phone line, it's not physically possible that you could be faster than Comcast. I'm like, fuck them, dude. Okay. Fuck them. It's a scam. It really is.
Why do they charge so much out here for Comcast? I pay $130
because they basically have a fucking monopoly, and they can do it.
There's one more cable company. It's
here.
Yeah, isn't there's? I'm sure there's one more.
There might be,
but $250, man, ridiculous.
It was something.
Is that
like
with
that.
Internet and cable?
Because if that were the case, I'm saying $250 a month. It could have been less. It could have been exactly that dollar amount, but no, that was just to jump up to the unlimited data plan.
Right.
So that was separate from all the other bills and ancillary fees and shit that come with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, stupid. The biggest scam they have is that if you have 3 services, it's literally cheaper than having 2 services. That one pisses me off.
All I got is internet, brother. I don't have their cable. I pay $130.
Let's have some baller ass internet if you're just paying $130.
I do because
or I mean, if you're still paying $130 and just have internet, you must have some great internet.
You want to hear a funny story? I don't know, like 4 months ago, the internet was really shitty. It was really slow.
When?
About 4 or 5 months ago. No. Probably about 5 months ago.
Like in your area?
No, just in our house.
Oh.
Because my son is a big gamer and he goes on the computer a lot. And it was always lagging. I'm like, what? I'm paying this amount of money for this shitty ass internet. And let me call Comcast. So I give them a call. And they're like, hey, they're asking me, can you read the social security, the serial number off the back of the router? I said, yeah, sure. Like, oh, Durkin, you're 4 upgrades down.
Yeah,
like, what are you talking about? Nobody ever told me this. So
this is like, my parents, by the way.
Yeah, they were like, I was like, what are you talking about? And they're like, well, we have this new router, like the 4th generation. Do you want us to send it to you? No, I don't want you. Yes, I want you to send it to me. So they sent it to me. I hooked it up.
No, you stupid whore. I like being slow and old.
I hooked it up, and it was like night and day, man. Everything was just like, just super quick. And
yep.
I was like, how did you forget to tell me that? How many conversations I've had with you paying my bill and talking about my bill, upgrading my bill.
Yep.
And you didn't tell me that?
Yeah. That's exactly my parents' boat. So my parents, dude, in my dad's garage, it's fucking hilarious. You hit guide on the garage TV.
Yeah, I know.
Dude,
I know.
and he has a fucking menu that pops up that looks like it's straight out of 1998, bro. Like literally, I think the last time I looked at a guide that looked like that, the Vikings almost went to the Super Bowl with Randy Moss, dude. We're talking like that long ago. We're literally talking over 20 years ago. That's how old it looks when he hits guide. And you go into the house and they have like the new X1 system.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Dan, you know you can upgrade that box, right? And he's like, really? And I'm like, dude. And he's like, how much will that cost? I'm like, nothing.
Nothing. It comes with the service, buddy. They upgrade.
You're already
you
paid for it. Dude, you're paying like $3 or $8 a month or whatever it is for this box that literally doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
And you could just go get free brand new equipment. Just go there and give it to them. And they'll be like, wow, how long have you had this? And you're going to have to be like 25 years. They're going to be like, I'm surprised it still works. But the router thing, dude, I found out about exactly what you said because my router shut down. Like just stopped working.
Is it a Comcast one?
It was, yeah. And so I hit them up and I was like, what's up with this? And they were like, well, we don't really know. And it really doesn't matter because you're due for an upgrade. Just bring it in and we'll just give you a new one. And then I pick up the new one and it's a different looking router too. And I'm like, what the fuck? And they're like, yeah, this one's newer. It's way faster. It's got this, it's this,
yeah.
And blah, blah. And so now I know that you want to call in once a year, once every 2 years, and ask them, like, is my equipment up to date? Because you'll always be charged for the category you have. Like, if you have a DVR box, you'll get charged X amount of dollar for that, right?
Yeah.
And then is what happens is, like, if they come out with the same DVR box and now it's 4K enabled, your box gets bumped down a tier, but you don't get charged any less for it. You still get charged that top tier as if it's a 4K box.
Right.
So you might as well call them up and get your 4K fucking box because they're not dropping the price for you on this lower tier equipment now. So just stay up to date on it. Dude, my parents, I've been telling them this for literally over a year. They still haven't actually done it. He still has that old ass box from 1998, dude, with that interface and the remote. Like, you look at this remote and it's like, oh my God, dude. The Comcast remotes now, they all have voice things on them. You talk into them. Not his, man. Not his, dude. His shit, dude.
His is the one you got to bang on your hand a couple of times
dude,
before it starts working.
All the ones now, you don't even have to point at anything because they run on radio frequency. So you could like put it in your crotch and hit channel 11, enter, and it'll work. This is one of the ones you have to like point directly at the box, and if your line is off a little bit, like you'll think the remote's not working. You start slamming it on your hand, like you said. Start working, motherfucker! Dude, it's hilarious. So I went through that too. Man. I went through that too. All right, so you originally wanted to talk about movies, so let's quick segue into this, and then we'll slowly wrap this up here. We've been going for 2 hours.
Yeah.
So I usually set aside like 3 hours, and we can keep it shorter than that. We can go longer than that. That part doesn't matter.
Right.
But, we're getting into that third hour. So originally Nick wanted to come on and talk about movies. Or I shouldn't say Nick like I'm talking to them. I'm talking to you. You wanted to come on. I was thinking I'm like communicating with these guys, right?
That's fine.
If I'm going to do that, I need
always
to look at the
trying
camera.
to entertain people, folks. I told you earlier.
So Nick wanted to come on and yeah. So anyways, you wanted to come on. You wanted to originally talk about movies. The reason this is important to Nick is because when he left the band, he started getting into movies. Like we flirted with writing a couple movies together because I had done that in high school, and I had let you read a couple of my short stories. You thought I always had good ideas. That was your big thing you always said to me. You're like, you'd call me up and be like, hey man, I'm writing this script. I want you to come over and just read it and like help me out because you just always have good ideas. Like, and I remember the first time you were like, I don't want you to help me write it. I just need you to read it and like help me because you always have good ideas. That's what you've always said to me, like in this aspect. Finally, you wanted to do this one project for real. I don't remember what it was. And you were sending me this opening script and there was something fucked up about it. And I couldn't get through it.
Wasn't it that music video, that guy that was your manager? and you guys were gonna shoot a music video, and you needed a script and a director. Wasn't
Possibly.
it that? It was at it was at your parents' place in Northeast,
Possibly.
right around when I first met you.
It's possible.
You know,
It's very possible.
but anyway,
But yeah, I digress. But so literally, I remember you. But no. You had written like an actual opening scene to a movie, and it just wasn't working. But you wanted. I think you were trying to get into this like film festival or a script writing contest or something. There was something going on. You had your own motive and your own thing going on, and you were like, and I was like, dude, here's the deal. Like this just isn't that good. And this just isn't working. I don't know what it is. You keep asking me to like critique each part, and I'm like, I don't even know what advice to give because this whole thing just seems like not authentic.
right?
And you were like, well, I got this other one I can send you, or maybe we could start something and write something together. That's what you said to me.
Okay.
And I remember going, let me do this. I have a story. Let me send it to you. And let's see if, because this is already basically written. Let me know what you think. And I sent you the script, and you fell in love with it. Like you called me back like within an hour or two, and you were like, "This is fucking amazing." And it was called a proof. So it's about 1 or 2 pages long. It basically tells the entire story in very short form.
Right.
And you're like, "We have to do this." And we started working on a script. That never panned out, but mostly because we couldn't figure out how to properly finish the story. Like we hit a bump somewhere in the storytelling and making the whole thing come together, and it just never happened.
Right.
But you always stuck with that. And I remembered this about you in the band. You were always so into movies. So you eventually have tried to do a few things. I remember you tried to start like a business or music management company. That didn't end up working out. And now you're trying to do this movie review thing.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah, I wanted to do that for a while. I write my own little reviews on Facebook. I have my own Facebook reviews. So when I watch a movie, I type, a small review, give my opinion.
So if they go to facebook.com/reviews for you.
Yes.
Traditionally spelt out.
Yes.
Like,
no. And I've been doing that for about 3 years now. I was doing it with a buddy of mine, Jeff, who's a big movie fan, much as I am. And we were talking about doing something like this for movie reviews. But then he got really busy with work, and he moved far away, I believe. And it just never panned out. So this is something that I've wanted to do for quite a while. I just love talking about my opinion. And I've had a lot of discussions with people about movies. People like to talk about them. Once you start talking about them, like, oh yeah, I've seen that movie. And with some people though, I look at it. With some people, but yeah, I've wanted to do it. And I feel.
So how long have you been doing it now?
Well, I just been writing the reviews on Facebook for about 3 years. I haven't been able to start doing anything like this. YouTube channel. I watch a lot of reviewers that I've learned a lot from, like Chris Stuckman. I love watching his reviews. Reviews are great.
Is he a YouTuber?
He's a YouTuber.
Okay.
Just Chris Stuckman. The last time I heard, he was making a movie for Shudder, that horror streaming channel. I had it for a couple months. It was okay.
Peanut, shut up.
So I watch him a lot. I like his reviews.
Peanut, shut up.
I watch Oliver Harper. Oliver Harper, he's from England, and he does these retrospect videos where he talks about the film, like 35-40, gives the backstory, the history, what games came out for, what toys. They're awesome.
So
Oliver
how
Harper.
do you? So nowadays there's a billion, and obviously I'm exaggerating. There's so many people out there doing what you're trying to do from shitty websites, right? And this is not new either. Like Rotten Tomatoes now is a standard, but that was one of a uncountable number of movie review websites. Somehow they made it work.
Right.
Now you've got these YouTubers that are doing like a vlog. They're right in front of a camera. They're playing clips of a movie. They're doing all this crazy shit. But some of them even get into politics. You know, this movie's too woke. This movie's offensive to the feminist movement, and they like it's almost like it became an op-ed. It sounds like when you're reviewing or talking about movies, you stick to the art and the execution,
right,
and like the dissection of it, almost like I do music. Like music is sometimes almost ruined for me when I have a hard time like just listening to music like a listener. When I hear a band, I'm thinking about it, well, I would have written that a little differently right there.
Right.
Or I would have done something a little differently right there. Or, ooh, it's really interesting, the sound of that snare drum, the clap, clap, instead of a pop, pop. Like, oh, that's really intriguing how they did that. Oh, how did he play that guitar? Oh, that sounds fascinating. Like, I'm not listening to it like, oh, I like that song. It's like everything from a good song to a shitty song. I'm analyzing it. And I notice myself doing that with movies too, because I've done some writing and I understand how stories are told and films are made. And sometimes I have a hard time, unless it's really, really well done, completely letting go and just appreciating the story. I can do that in most Marvel movies because they're that well done. I could do that.
Well,
in
they're
like Breaking
popcorn
Bad
flicks
and Game of Thrones for TV shows to reference. But where I'm going with this is, how do you review a movie? Are you sticking to the facts, so to speak?
It depends on what movie I'm watching, because I look at each one differently. So let's take two movies for instance, two comic book movies, okay, but different movies. Avengers, okay, that's what's called a popcorn flick. It's there to entertain you. Okay, it's there. That is the one that is to take you out of reality. Okay, so you're there. I don't want to say mindless entertainment because that's mostly horror movies, so it's not mindless. And then there's the Joker. The most recent one was Phoenix. It was dark,
right?
And it's a very sad and disturbing story. You know what I mean? That type of movie is not made to go and be entertained. That is to go to a movie and watch this story unfold of a man who's going insane. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually did see that movie. It's fucking amazing. I didn't think anybody would ever be able to follow Heath Ledger.
That's the thing. When I heard that they were doing this and I was following it and reading articles about it and who they got to play the Joker, I was skeptical, man. I was like, I don't know, man. Heath Ledger set the bar so high that anybody who plays after that. And a lot of us
said they should just never, ever cast the Joker ever again.
That Jared Leto one was a mistake, dude. That was terrible.
Dude, and they're not getting rid of him.
They're going to keep terrible.
They're going to keep bringing his version back. And it's like, stop doing this. You can't have these different versions of the Joker and then call it an intertwined world.
Well,
it's too confusing. Like, just stop with the Joker thing in the Suicide Squad. The next Suicide Squad you film, just retcon it and have Joaquin Phoenix be the new Joker. Just stop it there, because it's almost like Joker honored the Dark Knight trilogy and that really gritty, dark shit. And then you've got Suicide Squad. I haven't seen Birds of Prey yet, but I seen Suicide Squad. I seen Justice League. Those are like super over the top, colorful movies that are badly put together for multiple reasons. I think both had directors and or writers switch in the middle of the movies. That's neither here nor there. But then you go look at Batman versus Superman, the original I just watched Batman versus Superman, the Ultimate Edition. Completely different vibe. A way better movie than the normal Batman versus Superman. The first, I think there's 2 Superman movies before Batman versus Superman.
Just one, Man of Steel. Batman versus Superman was the sequel.
Okay. So Man of Steel, gritty. Like, so there's like 2 different versions of the DC universe. That for me is the problem. Is there's no connectedness. There's no consistency. You've got different actors playing different versions of the same character in the same universe. Super fucking confusing. Like, is he a clown or is he a tortured soul who wears clown makeup? His tortured soul, Heath Ledger, clown makeup, Heath Ledger, same thing for Joaquin. And then you've got a fucking clown in Jared Leto. Silver
Don't
teeth.
forget Jack Nicholson.
I mean, yeah, but I'm separating that because that's not part of the
cartoonish.
DCEU at all.
Yeah.
It's just not. It's not part of this canon.
Has made some mistakes. some of their movies. They're just too dark. That's number one. I'm not expecting a film to be all comical and full of humor like the Marvel films. Lighten up just a little bit. But they're getting better.
Yeah, and they've given into that.
Wonder Woman was good.
Dude,
I was surprised.
Dude, she was the best. She was the best part of Batman versus Superman. She was the best part of Justice League. She saved that. Her own movie is the best DCEU movie because technically Dark Knight isn't in the DCEU, right? And then
I disagree.
The other one they killed, the other one they crushed was Shazam. Did you see Shazam?
Yes.
Phenomenal. Extremely well done.
I don't agree with you that Wonder Woman's the best DC. Aquaman is the best DC.
I don't think
that
so,
movie was really
How many
good.
times have you watched it?
3, 4.
Oh, okay. See, I thought you made a watch once or twice.
I've watched Wonder Woman twice. Doesn't mean I don't like it.
I'll go watch Aquaman again. I've seen it twice. I'll go watch it again, and maybe I'll because I don't know if I put this on my YouTube page. I did say on the description of the YouTube page that my opinions do not reflect the guests I have or any organizations you guys represent. That gives you a free pass to not be held accountable for the crazy shit I say. However, I also reserve the right to change my opinion. So I will say some wild opinionated shit and then 3 weeks later change my mind. I'm going to keep doing that because that's how people grow. So fucking be warned.
Well, I think
listeners.
if you watch Aquaman one more time, you'll appreciate it.
Maybe. I'll give it a shot. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt on that.
Shazam, yes, great movie.
It was fucking great.
It was great.
I loved it.
So they're getting better. They're starting to get the idea.
Yeah.
You know, but Marvel's always going to kick their ass. You know.
I don't know. DC used to be the superior comic franchise, and maybe now that they're taking a cue, because here's the thing: is like Marvel. I love this. I love this conversation too because I think about this, and I'm a huge movie fan as well. That's one of the reasons you and I have been such good friends our entire lives, is because for us, our passions are the same but slightly offset in priority, which brings balance to the other person. So I'm more music, less movies. You're more movies, less music. And that's always been like that.
Right.
But the comic books, Marvel was getting their ass kicked so bad by DC, they started taking cues from DC. Well, okay, if we're losing this badly in the sales, and okay, well, what are they doing over here? Let's try to do something like this. Stan Lee is on record multiple times saying, well, this character or this started because DC had this going and we needed to compete. Right? It's a survival instinct. DC's now starting to do that in the movie, right? Ironically, it's been reversed. Who knows? Because eventually Marvel in the comic world became more successful than DC. Eventually. Yes. It took a long time. Like very long time. Almost all the way to the end of the comic book era. Which now has a renaissance.
Right.
Because Sony picked up X-Men way back in the day. That was the first one. And it's mentioned in that Kevin Smith movie. Fucking Sony bought up the rights to X-Men. They made that very first X-Men movie. It was so successful that every fucking movie production company went around and bought up desperately the rights to any comic book character they could get their hands on.
That set the groundwork for it.
And it literally was so ground shaking, X-Men was, that is the premise of Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, is that they had a comic book written about them and somebody made a movie into it. And that's the whole thing, is them trying to get their motherfucking movie check. The whole fucking movie is about them trying to get their motherfucking movie check. Dude, and they make that reference in there. Once X-Men hit, every studio went around buying every fucking comic book character they could.
Yeah.
And it got sparsed out. Sony hit it big with X-Men, and then they fucked it up. And then they hit it big with Spider-Man, and then they fucked that up.
Well, X2 was good. Yeah. X3 is a guilty pleasure. You know where I still like it.
You know where Sony jumped the shark with the entire thing was when they started. It was a great idea, bad execution. The Origins. They were going to do X-Men Origins, and they started with Wolverine. Yeah. Guess who made that movie? Directed that movie. Wrote and directed that movie.
Oh,
the same guy who ruined Game of Thrones. One of the D&Ds. David Benioff, I think his name is. That skinny little fuck with that bad version of Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool.
Oh, that was terrible.
Yeah, that's him. Terrible. It's the same fucking guy. right? Like
Yeah.
like my vengeance for D&D is validated not because of just what they did for Game of Thrones. They also did it to the entire because there was never a second Origins movie for any other character after that. That's how bad that movie was. And they tried to recover. Oh, you're about to fall off. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to drill those in. That basically ended that version. They tried to recover it with Days of Future Past. Horrible.
That movie was. What are you talking about? That movie was great.
It was terrible. It was terrible.
Are you talking about X-Men First Class? Well, it doesn't matter. They're all. Well, no, I'll take that back. First Class was awesome. Days of Future Past was even better. Apocalypse sucked.
I liked Apocalypse.
And Phoenix sucked.
I liked Apocalypse.
I didn't. It was too boring.
I liked Apocalypse, but I will admit I've seen it once, and Kate and I watched it coming back from our wedding on a plane. So we're flying from Jamaica
It's not a comfortable
back
place
to
watch a
home.
movie.
Dude, we were in fucking first class. We were in first class.
All right, a little bit better, but still.
And no, we weren't. No, we weren't. That's not. It was a shitty situation. We were coming back on a coach flight from visiting her dad in North Carolina. You breaker.
No,
Dude, I can't tell you how many times I've been down here lately in the last 2-3 days, and I'll be sitting here, and break my cigarette in half. And luckily, it's always right before I light it.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, well, fuck. Now I got half.
And those
smoke.
are expensive too. Those are like 10 something a pack.
Yeah, they are.
I
I
like
smoke
them.
less of them though. That's why I smoke them, even though they're more. People are like, how do you afford that? I'm like, they take so long to smoke,
Yeah.
and they're so strong.
Yeah.
I smoke like a pack or less a day. If I were on like those, these are so, and they burn so fast. I would smoke 2 of these on this podcast alone. 2 entire packs of those. Dude.
I had
2 drags and it's gone.
I had a teacher that smoked those, and she smoked the blue ones, and I always liked them, but 50 a pack, bro, I can't justify that. I'm sorry. These are enough. Plus, I like to smoke and be done with it,
Sure.
especially when it comes to wintertime.
Yeah.
While you're all smoking hundreds, I'm like you said, throwing it out. I'm good for an hour and a half.
So wintertime, I smoke half. Like literally,
and that
these
sucks.
take
Then
so long.
Then you got to break it off, and you got to relight
and then it
it.
stinks.
It stinks.
Yep, that's the worst
You know,
one. But
and then when you try to get out of the pack, you're breaking cigarettes because it falls down. Then when you finally do get it out, it falls on the ground. You step on it. Just smoke.
I need to quit again.
Just smoke 7.
I need to quit again. You remember when I quit?
Any
the first
kids
time?
out there, don't smoke.
We were in a band together when I quit the first time.
Did you quit?
Yeah, I quit.
Oh,
I
'cause you
quit in
had
7
your
months
voice.
of nothing. Yeah, I had to.
Yeah.
Like I didn't even want to. I was like, I have to. If I want to do this right, I can't smoke.
Right.
All right, fine, I'll quit. And I worked. I did it. And then I started at 21. I met a girl, couldn't be away from her, and we would drink every night and just fuck like wild. And she smoked. So when we'd get done banging and we'd be drunk as fuck, she would be like, I'm going to go have a cigarette. Do you want to come with? And I'd be like, yeah, because I couldn't be away from her, right? And I loved this girl so much. And so I'd go out and I'd hang with her. And because I'm drinking, I'd been doing this for years, I'd take a puff or 2 of a cigarette, get a little buzz. And then this happened so often, I developed a taste for Newport cigarettes. And one time she's gone out of town visiting her family. I'm doing landscaping work in the backyard, and I'm sitting there drinking homebrew in the middle of the summer. I start getting a nice big buzz going. And I'm like, man, I miss my girlfriend right now. And I'd also really like a drag of a Newport. And so I was like, I missed her.
Did you say Newport menthols or Newport Reds?
Yeah, no, menthols.
Menthol? Okay. That's what I
Right.
thought.
So I missed her so much. I went to Walgreens. I bought that pack of Newports. And I was fine.
Nasty.
I was fine for like a week. I would take a few drags. I'd put it out. But then they started giving me gut rot like they always did in the past. So I went and got a regular pack of cigarettes. And that was it. Once I bought that first regular
Of course,
pack of smokes,
once you buy that
fucked.
pack, you're done.
I was fucked.
You're done.
And I was a full-time smoker again. And it sucks. It's been 6, 7 years. And I've tried to quit twice since then.
How old
and
are
I
you?
can't. 35.
Are you 35? Really?
About to be 36, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose Jamie's a little older than you.
Yeah, she's a little older
Yeah.
than me. She's like a year or 2 old.
Let me tell you
Something
something,
like
man, okay? Like, seriously. Listen to what I have to tell you.
All right, I'm
All right,
listening,
listen.
man. I'm listening.
35 now.
Yeah.
Feel good, right? You feel good most
I
of the time.
definitely feel better than most 35-year-olds.
Okay. Get to be about 41, 42. You start hurting. And
Dude,
listen to me.
That's
Just
what
listen.
they said about
Just-
30.
just
That's what
listen.
everyone
No,
said
no,
would
no.
happen when I'm 30.
No. Just listen. Just think of all the things you've done up to this point with the band.
Oh, my
shows that you
body's
played.
already falling apart.
Oh, hold on. You don't know what falling apart is until you hit about 41, 42. Okay? Well, it's like some switch goes on. When I turned 42, man, or not even that, 41. When I turned 41, it was weird. Next day, fucking shoulders killing me.
Well, that
Fucking
shit's
my
already
leg
happening,
hurts.
dude.
What? I got high blood pressure. I got to take medicine for high blood pressure. What?
That might start happening, that
You know?
kind of shit. But, dude, the physical stuff, that already happened at 30,
and
dude.
then, and I don't know what your family history, your genes are like. One day when I was looking in the mirror, man, I hadn't gotten a haircut for a while. It was during COVID. I went like this with my hair, and I lifted up my hair because it was like thick enough to where I could feather it, like did that, and it was all fucking white, dude. All white fucking hair. And Jamie was there, and she was like, "You are getting old." Dude. And I'm like, so I'm telling you, 41, 40, you're gonna start feeling it.
Yeah, I mean,
me.
no, here's the thing is, like, I've lived a very hard life. I've been in a zillion fights, like more fights than I can count. And I'm not exaggerating this. I had been in 250 fist fights by 18 years old.
Fists.
Dude, real fights too. Real fights, not like where two dudes like grab each other and you do a little bit of wrestling on the ground. I'm talking like real fucking fights where real fists are being thrown. Dude, I probably had 40 concussions because we didn't really know what concussions were back then. By the time I was 16, I probably had 40 concussions. Then you add in the sports. Then you add in being a professional musician, right? So you guys did make me carry gear, right? Which is hard. And then I had to carry merch gear. And then in the next band, I still had to help those guys out with gear. In the next band, and I was still helping. And then I'm on stage. There's still a video somewhere out there of me playing an empty air hangar. You heard that right. We got booked for this show in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. It was supposed to be huge. They usually sold shit out like wild. They book our band. They book another band. I think it was a band. Yeah, I think it was Ginger Jake. I'm pretty sure it was Ginger Jake. I think this is the right show I'm referencing. We get there, and we're playing in a fucking airplane hangar. This place could have held 5,000 people. 5 showed up.
Kick-ass show, man.
Dog, listen. It was so bad, bro.
Dude, I can only imagine, man. You're in this huge space. And there's nobody there.
And you know how, like, we talked about before, like, well, at least the other bands and their girlfriends are there.
Right?
Well, this time, they all stood on the side of the stage and back. So I'm looking to my left, and there's about 20 other musicians right here throwing down, enjoying our show. And then I look this way, and there's 5 people. And there could be 30 jet airliners in this fucking...
What happened? Why didn't anybody show up?
I don't really know the story, but I imagine, just knowing the industry, that they probably didn't do the right amount of research on 2 things. Number one, how big of a fan base we actually had in that region,
right?
Versus and this is what I think actually happened, is I think there was probably a huge national concert happening in Sioux Falls on the same. So, like, locally here in Minneapolis, I mean, we got fucking 4 million people in the city. And if Metallica shows up and you're also a hard rock or a metal band, you're going to... Let me put it this way. Pretend 7 Months of Nothing kept going. And all of a sudden, regularly, we, as a headlining band, are easily drawing 1,500 people to any of the local clubs, sell out, because, like, even fucking First Avenue is only like 1,300 technically, at 13 or 1,500. Say we're doing that, and then for some reason Metallica shows up, or at that time a better example would have been Korn or Slipknot or even Seven Dust, and they're playing the Target Center, and we all of a sudden out of nowhere, we're not drawing 1,500 people. There's 100 people total. From the beginning to the end of the night, total 100 people come through the door. you know it's because that other band was in town. So you start learning as a local band, building a following, not to book shows on the same nights as large national concerts that share your genre. So if 7 Months of Nothing was playing and Matchbox 20 was in town, non-issue. It's not the same crowd. I think that's what happened. I think the booker either didn't know or didn't look, or maybe they did and then they booked the show and then 2 weeks later the national thing got booked. But that's what I think happened.
Who promoted it?
I don't remember her name. I don't remember, but our bass player started fucking her and shit got weird right away.
Really bad.
And that's why I'm trying to give her the benefit of the doubt, because this has happened to me where I booked a show and we were all good, and then a month later, because you book shows a minimum of usually 60 days out. So today's what, the fucking 25th or something? Right? So we would be booking, and it's July, so we'd be booking for September 25th, actually my birthday. That would be the first day, literally, that we're willing to book a show from today. If we're on the phone right now and you're offering me a show, you're, as a venue owner or promoter or booker or manager, you're looking at that weekend or the end of September. I, as a professional band, shouldn't be willing to play a show any more last minute than that, unless I'm doing you a favor. Like, we know each other, we have a deep relationship, and you're calling me up like, dude, I need a fucking favor. This band canceled on me. I know it's only a week away or a month away. I know you're not going to promo a lot. You're doing me a favor. Don't worry about it. You'll still get paid. There's something that comes with that conversation. It's never just like, yeah, I'm booking a show. It's in 2 weeks. Do you want to play? Turn that show down. If somebody ever hits you up as a musician and they're offering you a show or a concert that's less than 60 days away, and they don't have a very, very detailed explanation as to why they're trying to do it so last minute, and even if they do have an explanation, if that explanation doesn't make perfect fucking sense, don't do it, because it's going to be a bad show. I've been in those scenarios. I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt that she booked the show, and then like a month later, somebody booked a last minute big national. Probably because something happened in another town. Like maybe they were going to play on the other end of South Dakota, or maybe they were going to play in Bismarck, North Dakota. I don't fucking know. They were going to play somewhere else, and maybe that venue burned down. You know what I mean?
Right.
They were like, we got to move the show. We have tickets we already sold. And so they hit up Sioux Falls and this fucking place we weren't playing. And there's a million reasons it could have happened. But dude, even though there's 5 fucking people there, we talked at length earlier about the importance of putting on a great show.
Right.
So I literally pulled my band aside and I said, you motherfuckers better not be lazy tonight. I don't care how many people are or are not out there right now. You're acting as if this place is fucking packed. There is no option. I will not be in a band with anybody who doesn't give their absolute 100% every night. And they're like, no, bro, we got you. We got you. You know, and most of my guys are on the same page, but I'm still always going to say that. Just in case you thought tonight was okay because you're so bummed out. Maybe tonight's okay. You just take it a little lighter. Nope. Nope. So, dude, it's so dead. And I sometimes overcompensate. So when I'm saying like, dude, 5,000 person at least airplane hangar, I'm not exaggerating. There were speakers that were 20 to 30 feet in the air, like a stack of speakers, right? On the sides of the stage.
With no people in there, that was probably really loud.
It was so loud. Dude, so we're playing, and I climb this fucking stack of speakers. This video still exists. Don't take my word for it. It's out there. It's in South Dakota, and you can tell the place is empty. And you see me climb this fucking stack of speakers and disappear out of camera frame. And all of a sudden, I'm up there, I'm singing. The vocals are still going. I'm on top of this huge speaker stack, screaming and singing. All of a sudden, I'm getting ready to jump. And my guitar player's right below me, and he doesn't see what's about to happen. Someone else, I think it was the bass player, Tim, sees what's going on, and he walks over as he's playing, because we were pros, and Tim doesn't miss a fucking beat or a note, and he just like, he kicks Rain real lightly, like, hey.
Right.
And he goes, what? He like gives him the nod, like, And Rain looks, and he starts laughing. He's like, and I don't remember which direction he went. I don't remember if he walked in towards the speaker stack or if he walked way away. But I think he walked towards the speaker stack because if I remember correctly, I jumped off that speaker stack, and I don't think I realized how high it was, dude. It was like 20, 30 feet in the air. I jumped off that motherfucker and flat-footed it right on the ground. Like, boom. And when I landed on the fucking stage, I hit perfectly on time with the music. About a year or two later, I started realizing I think I might have blown out some sort of tendon that night, dude, because I started having real knee problems, like right away.
You probably
Like,
fucked yourself up good.
oh yeah, that video still exists. So like, and that's what I was getting at between the fights, the football and the baseball and even the basketball, and then the touring and the stunts I would pull on stage. There's another one where I was in either Dying Euphoria or Solace and Ash. I don't remember what band it was, but we were at the Rock. And you remember how they had that like wall behind you at the Rock nightclub, and other musicians, specifically drummers, would stand behind you and lean on the wall and watch you play drums right in front of us. And then the crowd's still out there.
Right.
So we're playing, I think it was Dying Euphoria. I think we were in a battle of the bands again, and I climb on this wall behind the drummer, and the ceiling is low and there's lights and shit. And I'm quickly realizing, like, I don't know if I can successfully jump over this without hitting my head. I'm like, fuck it, I'm going to do it anyways. We just got to think about this and be real careful. The whole time I'm actually singing. The whole time, right? And then my verse ends, and I'm like, all right. But now I'm standing over, I think it was Pat who was filling in for Dying Euphoria. And I'm like, all right, I got to time this right. Like, I got to make sure that his stick isn't going to come up. Right? That's all I'm thinking about. Like, I don't want to hit this dude in the head with my feet. I don't want to clip myself on the top. I don't want my feet to hit his cymbals. This was a bad idea, but I'm here now. If I don't do this, people are going to be like, what was that? So I leap and I tuck and I like bring my head down. I curl up into a ball as I'm flying forward. I perfectly clear him, perfectly clear his drum set. Don't hit my head. Land on the stage perfectly on time with the beat, hit the ground immediately. That's where my verse started. I didn't try to hit the ground on time. It just happened. Dude, that kind of shit, dude, was like so cool to watch. And it was great when you're in your early to mid, even late 20s. But I'm feeling it. Like, my body's falling apart. I have to like spend probably an hour a day stretching just so I can like move. Like, the neck's really bad, the back's really bad, like knees are starting to go, hips are fucking wearing out already. But you know, I stay on top of it, like really almost religious. A lot of stretching, a lot of making sure that I got a Theracane now so I can massage different parts of my back, keep them loose. Yeah, dude, because I tighten up right away. So I think I actually feel better now physically than I did at 25, 30 years. I was doing all that wear and tear to my body.
You're
Those
lucky.
injuries were fresh, and I didn't know, so I wasn't taking care of myself. But, you know, I listen to Rogan. I listen to a lot of those dudes that talk. I don't remember his fucking name, but he calls everyone a bitch. David Goggins. Ex-Marine, Special Forces, Navy SEAL, like literally both.
Right.
He was like in the Navy, became a Navy SEAL, and then he like, after he was done with that, then he joined the Marines or vice versa, or crazy shit. And yeah, he talked a lot about stretch. So like, I feel you, man. Like, I already know, and I don't think I have to wait till I'm 40, 41, 42. I think I led a hard enough life. I ain't a soft man. And like I said, then when I wasn't successful in making music off or money off music, I worked in a metal shop, dude. Like, that ain't fucking easy work either, bro. Like, that's a lot of times is heavy fucking lifting. A lot of times it's light. Sometimes I'm making a box the size of your cigarette pack, and I got to make 200 of these, and it's aluminum. They weigh as much as this cigarette pack. Nothing. Right. But sometimes I got to make 4 pans that are the size of this table, and it's a 1/4 inch thick metal. It's like 250 pounds each. I need another guy to do that job. Right. That's how, you know, and you got to make 30 of them. Doesn't sound like a lot, but 30 something that's that fucking heavy, it wears on you real fucking quick. Like, dude, I lived a hard life. Like, I'm still remodeling this house by myself, like the kitchen and shit. I did that by myself. All the things that have been done, I do all that shit by myself. And dude, it definitely takes its toll. It definitely takes. I ain't fucking feeling that great. I may look good. That's also fucking putting in work, bro. Like you talked about the gray hair thing. I got like 8 of them now in the middle of my beard, and there's not enough of them to where I get that nice salt and pepper look.
Like mine?
Yeah, yours looks good.
Yeah.
Because it's the salt and pepper. Right. I got like 9 pubes, white pubes that stick out of the bottom of my chin, dude. It looks horrendous. And I fucking pluck them. And I'm like, until there's more of you, 8 of you can't exist. Like, nah, it looks horrible. It looks terrible. I hope I develop a stripe. Like, just let the whole thing, the middle part, let that all go fucking gray right there. And then I have the black beard, and I'll just have a white strip. Cool. I can deal with that too. But not just fucking. Because you know the white hairs, they like curl and grow in different directions, dude, than the other ones, man. Yeah.
Like I do with my ears. I got hair growing out of my ear, my nose. My wife's always like, "Oh, let me pluck that."
Yeah, the nose hairs are out of control for me. I'm starting to get the ear ones. I finally found out and realized that for about the last 2-3 years, I've had a hair growing inside my ear, tickling the inside of my ear, and it drives me nuts. I start taking Q-tips, and I'm trying to fucking. All of a sudden, I hear about it on someone's podcast, so I took fucking the ear and nose trimmer. Yeah. Stuck that thing as far in my ear as I could, and I heard it just go. Sure as shit, man. Here I am like 3 days later. I think it's like itched once or twice, and it nice little fucking. Oh, okay, we're good. Like Jesus Christ, getting old's a weird thing, man. But you can either.
Doesn't it just seem like yesterday we were at Joe's house?
Yeah, it really does, man.
You know,
it really does. It really does.
20 years goes by a long.
Technically, more than 20
years. It's a long time. It just goes by. No, I met you in the summer, or no, the start of the fall of '99, because I remember I was working
21 years.
Yeah.
I guess I'm right then. Yeah, but you're
21
right.
years.
20 years.
It's just crazy, man. Seeing Jackson grow up, you know. So seeing my own kids grow up, man. My son's taller than me.
Dude, it's wild.
He's taller than me, and he's still growing.
The whole thing. Fucking Elijah, dude. It's just wild to see, bro. Because it does. It happens so fast. You don't realize.
Oh.
So let's wrap this up. But basically, one of the last things we should talk about is like, so you started the movie review thing. Where are you going with it? What is the goal? Are you doing this for real? Are you trying to get this to be something that you're going to eventually be able to quit your job over? Or is it just something you're trying to do for fun? Do you want people to follow you? Do you want people to pay attention to what you're doing?
Right now, what I would like to do a movie review. People follow me, great. If they it's open. I'm not looking to. I'll tell you why in a minute. I'm not looking to make this monetary. Because I just recently, probably about 2 weeks ago, started writing again. So I started a screenplay. Actually 2. And I'm working hard on it. I spend at least a couple hours a night just because I'm tired. And days I have off, I spend more time. So that is what I'm trying to do. There is a screenwriting contest that's taking place at the end of the year. So I'm going to enter. In terms of this, I just want to do it for fun. Yeah, I'd like people to watch my videos. They don't necessarily have to agree with everything I say. I just like discussing film. I like doing this where I can sit down with somebody and talk about movies. I wanted to. There was some stuff tonight that I wanted to talk about, like Steven Spielberg, my favorite, that I like. They're great, but the Tarantino's.
Well, why don't we do this?
Generation.
Why don't we do this then?
Coming in.
Let's do this again. Let's try to do it a regular thing, and like maybe once a month, we'll have you come on, and we'll do a focused version of this, but we'll talk about movies. Maybe we can reach out to some people and figure out some of the legal and copyright issues. Because one thing is, it's hard to review movies or talk about movies without playing like a clip from them or something,
Right.
you know. And then I got to worry about getting fucking banned off YouTube. So maybe we'll have you on like once a month. We'll do a very focused thing. You can tell people how to follow your thing, and if that gets enough traction over time as I build my podcast, you start getting enough traction on there, maybe we can figure out how we evolve it then. Until then, maybe just keep doing what you're doing and just come on my podcast, talk about your movies instead of worrying about starting your own thing from scratch. Or like we talked about before the podcast, I technically have a couple of these mics I could part with, or a couple of these cams I could part with. I can help you set it up. Start a small YouTube version of the same thing you're doing. Have a vlog version of your written stuff. Maybe literally all you do is you write your YouTube review or your Facebook review, whatever it is, right, in writing written form, and then you just simply, that's like a script, and then you fucking video you saying that literal same thing out loud, maybe with a little improv and changes in there, but now you have a transcript version for your blog,
right,
and then you have a video vlog version thing, and you can just work on it organically, dude. We'll collaborate off.
Yeah,
Whatever I can do, man.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would love to sit here. There's just the reason why I want to talk about it too is you like you said, the COVID thing's going to come back and play. What are people doing when they're indoors? You know, some are reading, some are writing, some are drawing, but a lot watch movies. So I just wanted to, you know, Birds of Prey, you said it earlier. Sucked. Don't watch it.
Really?
Terrible movie.
Well, okay, let's do that because you did send me a list of movies. Let's do a lightning round, quick movie recommendation review list. Bust out your list. That fucking thing.
This fucking thing. I agree.
I know what's going on.
So you just go ahead and read the list I gave you, and then I'll just tell you. You ask me which one you want me to talk about. Like two. This
No, the bottom. That's what's been going on. Is this one that pivot wasn't loose? So
Right.
every time you turn in it like this,
Yeah.
it was trying to pivot this bottom as well. That's my bad. Now that'll spin a lot more freely. Perfect timing right at the end of the podcast, right? No, and these aren't even the best versions of these.
Right.
You know, you got to start something. All right, so
go ahead.
yeah, we'll do a quick lightning round, blitz through them, and basically, yeah, like, is it worth your time? And then just a quick, like, so I'll give you an example, like Dark Knight. Great, gritty movie. If you like fucking action movies that seem realistic, watch it. Doesn't matter if you like superheroes. See what I'm saying?
Right.
Suicide Squad. Terrible. Completely unrealistic, hard to follow, terribly put together. Pass. Hard pass. Don't even worry about it. Just move on. Unless you're obsessed with those characters in that genre.
Right. So while you're looking for those, I'll give you a few ones that I'll do really quickly. If you haven't seen it, Star is Born, great movie. Bradley Cooper, great director. Lady Gaga, even better. Very, very well done film. Definitely check it out.
Star is Born?
A Star is
I
Born.
hate Lady Gaga.
Oh, she's good in it.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of hers either, but that girl can act.
I just can't stand it.
The other one, Joker, and I know a lot of people haven't seen it. If you haven't, it's a great movie. It's a very deep character study, and it's not what you think it is, but it's definitely worth your time. Check it out.
Okay. Ready?
Yep.
Okay. Before the Devil Knows You're Dead.
Great film. Sidney Lumet has Ethan Hawke, Philip Seymour Hoffman, rest in peace, Marissa Tomei. Great thriller, great screenplay. Check it out.
Is this new?
No, it's 2007.
Oh, okay. Okay. Ruby Sparks.
Ruby Sparks, big surprise film that I really enjoyed. I can't remember their names, but it was the directing pair that made Little Miss Sunshine. And I can't remember the actor's name, but he was in 12 Years a Slave and Detroit Rock City. And he very witty, has a lot of charm. A little weird towards the end, but definitely check it out.
Okay. King of Staten Island.
Great movie. Judd Apatow, his new movie that's video on demand. I think it's on.
Oh,
Amazon.
this is with
That's with what the hell's his name? Damn it, something Davidson.
Pete Davidson.
Pete Davidson.
And my guy, one of my favorite comedians, one of mine that's on my Mount Rushmore of comedy, Bill Burr's in that movie.
Yep, yes he is. And I want to say just real quick, a little more about this. This is my surprise hit of the year. This was a very well made film. Pete Davidson is a great actor, great drama actor. He showed a lot of chops in this movie. It's emotional, great story, and this was his way of finally closure on his real father's death during 9/11, because the character in the movie, the father, dies the same way.
Gotcha.
This was his way of putting that to rest.
Okay.
Great movie. Check it out.
Underwater.
Underwater has what's that girl's name from Twilight? Kristen Stewart.
Oh, I was right.
Yeah,
wow, I just pulled that one out of my
right.
ass. I wasn't even sure she was in that movie.
It's a deep underwater horror movie.
I've never seen any of the Twilight films.
I saw the first one. I was good. My wife read all the books. She loved them, but the movie she didn't care.
Wait, a woman liked Twilight? Get out of here.
Get out of here.
All right, I got a piss, so let's keep going.
Hold on. Underwater horror movie. Skip it. It's stupid.
Okay. Underwater horror movie.
Stupid.
In the name, they might as well have just called it underwater horror movie. The Five Bloods, we already covered that one.
Yeah.
Birds of Prey, we just covered that one.
Yeah.
Bad Boys for Life.
Very good. Very surprising. It was a lot better than 2. It's because Michael Bay wasn't directing it. Great movie.
Weird that they put the number 4, and it's not the 4th version of the movie.
They didn't. I just put it there.
Okay. Sonic. I heard that was actually pretty
Sonic was a surprise. It was funny.
I heard Jim Carrey was like killing it.
Jim Carrey was back.
He plays
to his
a
old
villain.
Self. Yeah, he plays the main villain. Very funny, very sweet movie, very charming. Definitely a movie I watch with the family.
I'm gonna jump through a few of these next ones. Upcoming Bill and Ted 3. I'm looking forward to that one. It looks good.
So am I, and I'm happy that William Sadler's in it again as Death. I thought that was pretty cool. But George Carlin won't be in it. But that's going to video on demand. They announced that today.
When does it debut?
Sometime in August.
Okay.
I can't remember.
Wonder Woman 1984. I have a huge fascination for this, not only because we discussed, I thought Wonder Woman is the best version of the DCEU as far as the movie is standalone, the quality, her acting, the characters' believability. Aquaman in itself is hard for me to swallow, just because it's like underwater,
right?
So like that movie is extremely colorful, like vibrantly colorful, to the point where it's like, dude, I've scuba dived, I've seen like tropical waters. It doesn't look like that underwater anywhere on Earth.
It's the movies, bro.
There's nothing that colorful. It was like Avatar. It was like Black Panther. It's like that's unrealistically vivid.
Right.
And then it's just weird seeing people like underwater, their hair's floating around, and they're like just the whole thing. I had a hard time with Aquaman, but Wonder Woman, and then 1984. That's the year I was born. So like literally, I fucking love anything that references that period of time. You got the Van Halen movie. You've got George Orwell. There's something special about the year 1984. So that one I got a little special thing for.
I'm looking forward to that.
I think it's going to be great.
I think it is too.
Godzilla versus Kong. That could be cool.
I'm looking forward to it. I was a big fan of the 1960s Godzilla versus King Kong. Watched it all the time when I was a kid. I'm looking forward to it. I liked Godzilla King of the Monsters. I thought it was a lot better than the first Godzilla movie.
And Top Gun 2 looks sick.
I'm looking forward to that. I love Top Gun. I love the Maverick character. It looks a little more modern. I mean, of course, obviously, but
it also looks a little grittier too.
They got like younger actors, so they'll probably be the main focus. And I think Tom Cruise's character will just be a back character.
You think he dies? I think he dies.
I think he does.
I think he dies in this one.
I think he does.
I think he dies in this one, or he survives and like he's
gonna
like die. Or he survives and he's like the like general or whatever you call him, the admiral or whatever in the next one, because if this one does well enough, they'll do another one.
Right? Yeah,
I think it'll be good. I'm looking forward to it. And they got rid of. It seems like they got rid of all that '80s cheese. You know what I mean? Like just cheese. Everything in the '80s had this level of like not Swiss, but like cheese whiz, like the can the can of cheese, the cheese in a can,
right? Yeah,
like so it's
cheese
not only
whiz.
but not only cheesy, but like processed, formulated cheese forced into the omelet of movie.
Right.
You know, the omelet that is a movie. And it's just like, dude, you couldn't even use like a real sharp cheddar or whatever the fuck you put on an omelet, you know? Nope. Cheese Whiz, bitch, came out of a can. Eat it. Eat it. It's the 80s. You have to. Everything was so cheesy back then. Mannerisms, the way they filmed scenes. Like, my favorite part about Top Gun, and we'll shut her down right after this. My favorite part about Top Gun is the volleyball scene where all the men are shirtless diving in the sand, but every second cut, no one has any sand on them.
You know, that reminds me of real quick. Jaws 4, you ever see it?
Yeah.
Jaws 4. There's a scene where Michael Caine's in the water, his plane goes down. He's coming out of the boat, coming out of the water up the ladder. The next cut, he's climbing over the thing and he's perfectly dry. It's one of the most. It's one of the most.
See,
it was one of the most. What am I looking for? Noticeable mistakes in film history. Like he's bone dry, dude.
Dude, there was one in one of the Star Wars movies where Fat Kirk, one scene, he's got a handprint, a bloody handprint way up here. Okay, and it's here throughout, like scene. Then one random cut must have been a reshoot, so that like 6 months later they don't have the same exact wardrobe, so they're trying to and the handprint's way down here. And so like and it just goes boom boom boom, and you just the print's here, then the print's down here, then the print's back up here. And this is what I'm talking about. Since I studied this and went to school for this, and I asked you about this, how you review movies, like I can't not notice those things. And as soon as I see one, it sticks out and it becomes a distraction. Antoine
because you're watching the production value of the
I
film.
have a problem with Antoine Fuqua and all the movies he makes. He made one great movie, Training Day. The director.
Great movie. Yeah.
Great movie. Every other movie he made was absolute trash. He made a movie with Mark Wahlberg called Sniper. And there's a scene where who's the dude who plays he's in Ant-Man. He's
Paul Rudd?
No, he talks really fast. He's the Latino dude.
He
talks really fast. He's in this Sniper movie, right?
Right.
There's a scene where he's being hung up like this, and he's being tortured, and they're beating the shit out of him, and he's got all this blood and shit in his teeth, and he looks all fucked up. I think he's even missing teeth.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, they cut away. They show Mark Wahlberg setting up to kill him, and then they flash back to that dude, and his teeth are perfectly white and clean. And then they flash back again, and they're all fucked up. Like, once I notice these things, and it ruins movies for me. I have a hard time unless it's perfectly well done, because as soon as you do that, it sticks out to me. I can't stop looking for the rest of them.
Right.
And his movies, Antoine Fuqua, he did King Arthur, he did Sniper, he did a bunch of really cheesy, badly made movies. And he got his shot at all those movies because he killed it in Training Day.
Right.
But the continuity error, the fucking consistency.
I got a great movie for you. It's a documentary. It's called Electric Boogaloo. Okay. It was about Canon Films. But back in the 80s, they made Master of the Universe, Superman 4, Delta Force, all the missing in action films. You have to watch this documentary, dude.
Okay.
The way these guys
Send me the link. I'll check it out.
These guys, the way they ran their movie studio, it's hilarious.
Really?
Oh, dude, it's so funny. These guys were fucked
And then
up.
you got to check out The Outsider on HBO Max.
I will.
That's the one you
check
got
it
to
out.
check out, dude. You'll love it. All right, I'm going to cue up the outro. Technically, we won't be done until I hit the other button over here. So
Right.
Don't say anything too wild, because we are still technically going to be live. Thanks for watching, guys. Nick, this was a lot of fun, dude.
It was. Thanks
This
for
was
having
a
me
lot of
on,
fun.
dude.
Dude, this was a blast.
Good
So
times.
let me grab this outro. Fade out. Yeah, we're good to go, man. Yeah, dude, this is fucking